We're ready.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the first.
We're ready.
Can you hear me? Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the first online career fair of Link Your Purpose. Good afternoon, everyone. And thank you for joining us for the first.
We're ready.
Can you hear me? Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us for the first online career fair of Link Your Purpose and the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission. Today, we are going to be hearing from 12 experts and leaders in their field who will be sharing with us their career journey, what they do, how they got there, any challenges that they may have overcome, and why they've stayed in the field, and basically any other question that you, our listeners, want to know about their career journey. My co-host today is Matthew Ferguson, and Matthew is from the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission, and you'll be hearing from him in a short while, and he and I will be guiding the panelists to ensure that they answer the questions that you want to hear so that you can be able to choose the right career based on your interests, based on your skills, and based on your passion. So welcome again. All right, so at this time, I'm going to hand over to Matthew. Can you tell us a little bit, Matthew, about J-TEC, what you do before we go into the first session?
All right, thank you, Vanessa. Welcome again, everyone who's joining in on Zoom and our YouTube channel. I'm Matthew Ferguson. I work at the Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission, and we call it J-TEC for short. That's the acronym. All right, so J-TEC is an agency of the Ministry of Education, and J-TEC was set up to provide regulatory oversight for higher education in Jamaica. And one of our major activities revolves around youth development and youth guidance, ensuring that young people have the tools necessary to guide them from secondary education into higher education. So whether it is career development, ensuring that students have information relating to accessing financing for higher education and things relating to that. And we do this through a series of activities, primary among which is our Go Higher campaign. So happy to be here, and I'd like to welcome all of the interviewees who are joining us right now. Now, everybody, we have an exciting panel for you today. We have persons joining us from Jamaica, the Netherlands. You know, Netherlands like Holland, like Netherlands. Yes, we have persons from the Netherlands. We have people from, you know, faraway countries like St. James. You know, we have people from St. Andrew. I mean, all these exotic locations coming to share their experience with us. So while you're coming in, just put a comment right there in our YouTube live stating where you are right now in the world, and we thank you for joining in, and we hope that, you know, you get some information, get some guidance, you know, get a boost and an idea of what your own career goals are and how you can actually move along your own career path. Some gems are going to be dropped on you today, so you have to ensure that you pick them up. All right, don't let anything slip. All right, so for this session, we have Tracy and Nico, we have Dr. Nelline Piper, and we also have Dr. Esperance. I'm hoping that I'm not butchering these names too badly, but I'll give them a chance to correct me when they start. All right, so we'll be talking to these persons to get an idea of who they are, what they do, what their passions are, how did they get where they are, how can you get where they are, and, you know, what the money is like being where they are, you know. That's one of the major things. So we want to ensure that we get that kind of information out. Oh yes, and how can I forget? President and CEO of I Create Institute, the champion for creatives. I must admit that I am a graduate of the I Create Institute. So I'll ensure that I keep my biases to myself. I won't be promoting too much Tyrone, but welcome Tyrone Wilson. All right. So as we begin, ensure that you capture everything that is being shared. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in our live discussion, and we'll try to incorporate them as best as we can. So we're going to start with Dr. Piper. Dr. Piper, welcome. If you can just unmute your mic for us, yes. All right, so we're good.
Okay, wonderful. So I'm just going to, I'd love to share my screen, but I'm not able to.
All right, so we'll activate that for you. But in the meantime, Dr. Piper, where are you? Are you in Jamaica? Where in the world are you? Okay, all right. And firstly, tell me something, Dr. Piper. I'm seeing that you are a marketing and communications professional like myself.
Yes, I am.
Right? And great. So we're sharing that kind of connection there. Good. So I'm assuming that we both like to share and talk and share our journeys and stories with people.
Oh yes. Oh yes. I do a lot of that.
All right. So tell me something now. What is your post right now?
Okay, so I wear a few hats. So let's talk about the substantive ones. I'm currently a lecturer at the University of Technology, Jamaica. I'm also the program director for graduate studies at J-TEC in the College of Business and Management. And I'm also an adjunct lecturer in the Caribbean School of Media and Communication, CARIMAC.
Great. And which one of those hats do you enjoy wearing the most?
Well, since all of them are kind of like branches of the same tree, I love all of them equally. My passion is education. I like to teach and of course share my experience. Education has been a transformative experience for myself. And so because of that, I feel that it is my duty to kind of pass that along to as many people as possible.
So how did you get into it? I mean, they always say those who can't do teach. So are you saying that you can't do, Dr. Piper?
Oh no. Actually, I came to teaching kind of by accident. I was a brand manager in Jamaica when one of my lecturers from university called me and she was like, there's this fabulous scholarship called Fulbright, you need to apply. And I was like, okay, I will. So I applied, and when I got the scholarship.
Wait, Dr. Piper, I have to stop you right there. For those of you who don't know what the Fulbright scholarship is, it is that very prestigious, very prestigious and very, I don't want to say very difficult, but it's the best of the best, the creme de la creme that gets accepted as Fulbright scholars. So Dr. Piper can't just skip over that part now, You need to say it slowly. For those of you who don't know, she's a Fulbright scholar. All right, so take it from there, Dr. Piper.
Sure. So I was, like I said, I was working in brand management in Jamaica when I got the Fulbright scholarship. This was in 2010. And I got my scholarship to do my master's in integrated marketing and management communication at Florida State University. So when I got to FSU, I met a professor who said to me, so are you going to stay and do your PhD? So I was like, is that possible? He's like, yes, come meet with me and we'll talk about it. So I was like, okay. Before I was finished with my first semester of my master's degree program, I was preparing my application for the doctoral program. And one of the things that you do as a PhD student is to teach, because it's one of those things that we do as academics. We teach and we do research. And so I started teaching then. And when I graduated with my graduate degrees, I opted to continue to do so. And there is great need in industry, but to be honest, I think there is an even greater scarcity of academics with the terminal degrees in marketing communications, and so I chose to stay in that area.
Okay, so would you say what are what are some of the key attributes to getting to that point, getting into that field and being successful, thriving in that field? So we have a lot of young people watching across the island who would have heard some of the wonderful things you just said and are envisioning how they can actually get to that point. What does it take to get to your post right now?
Okay, so in terms of qualifications, you need at least a master's degree in order to become a university lecturer, but a terminal degree, which is a PhD or something similar, is preferred, especially if you'd like to advance in that area. So you start with your bachelor's degree. Once you have finished that, you move on to your master's degree and then a PhD. With your doctorate, of course, they would love for you to have some teaching experience because a lot of it is going to be teaching. Also, of course, good time management skills, good written, oral, and communication skills. And these are things that you will pick up during the course of your studies. And of course, some amount of industry experience is also welcome because each academic, if you speak to a professor or a lecturer at a university, they will tell you what their specialty is, meaning what subject area they teach in. And in most instances, we specialize in different things. So you might speak to me and I'll tell you I teach mostly marketing research and marketing communications, which stems from my research experience and my experience as a brand manager. And you talk to somebody else and they tell you, oh, I'm in global marketing, or I'm in agricultural marketing, or I'm in sports marketing. And this is because that was where their experience or their research interest lies. So even though I'm a marketing lecturer, I specialize in whatever it is that was my interest. And so even if marketing isn't your interest, if it is something else, then you can actually become a lecturer in that area because what they're looking for are really experts in the field that can pass on that knowledge to people who want to go out and practice in that same area.
So when I was coming up, a person said, Matthew, you love to chat. You're either going to go into law or you're going to go into marketing. Is that the only criteria for wanting to get into marketing communications? What attributes do I need to possess to be able to thrive and be successful in that field?
Okay, so in marketing communications, yes, being an extrovert might be a benefit, but you have introverts who also do well in the field. If you are highly analytical, then you could strive for a career in marketing research. If you are creative, you could work on the creative side. If you are a very strategic person, you could become a media planner and work in an advertising agency. And so there are different skill sets, but good written and oral communication skills, analytical skills, the ability to understand people is definitely good. And being a strategic thinker is also something that is very beneficial in the field.
Okay, so question, and this is a little off script. Now, a lot of our young people want to get into these careers, but internship opportunities and other job opportunities are just really scarce. Dr. Piper, are you open to taking any interns?
Actually, I'm very active in mentoring. And so, yes, definitely, I do work with persons who are interested in marketing, especially marketing research, because that's one of the areas that in Jamaica, we don't have enough professionals who are skilled in statistical analysis. And when you think about it, marketing research spans to every area of marketing. You want to decide what product to launch. You have to do some feasibility studies. That's marketing research work right there. You want to see if an advertisement that you are planning would be a good ad to get consumers really riled up about your product. That is actually research that can be done. You want to see if for example, displays at KFC, is it bright enough? Is it engaging enough? Are people going to be reading? You're talking about doing some eye tracking studies, which I think Blue Dot Intelligence in Jamaica currently does. That is marketing research. And so I am definitely open to, and I've worked with people who are interested in research. It's one of the areas that I teach. So yes, definitely.
So what I'm going to ask Lanicia to do is, and any of our viewers, anybody watching who would like to engage or have any kind of communication with Dr. Piper, I'm gonna ask them to email us. All of you should actually have our email or our contact info. If you don't, send it in the live chat or send it in our Zoom meeting, and then we'll make that contact for you. For those of you who are interested in getting into that field. Now, Dr. Piper, this is another question on the spot, and I'm taking it easy on you. What can I expect to earn in this field? So, from an undergraduate level, what is the salary band like? From a master's level and a graduate level and having some experience in the field, what can I expect to earn at that level? And then lastly, what can I expect to earn at your level?
Okay, so the earning potential is going to vary depending on qualifications, experience, and where you are working. I try to, so for example, if I'm working with an undergraduate who is going out into the world of work and they're trying to figure out how much should I be paid, I would say that you can make anywhere between $2 million and $15 million, just depending on what your qualifications are and where you're working. Now, as a professor, we don't really make as much money as if you were to become a senior director of marketing or a VP of marketing in a corporate institution, but it is also a very good living. I do not struggle. Let's put it that way. And I'm able to help the causes that I can help. But to put it in more real terms, I would say to my students, if you have an undergraduate degree in marketing and you're going out to look for a job, you should not be making less than $120,000 a month after taxes. If you are looking at salaries of less than that, then probably a bachelor's degree in marketing is not required. When you get to the master's degree level, you should be in the $3 and $5 million range, depending on where you are in industry, like what organizations you're working in. Unfortunately, if you are in education, it can be anywhere between 3 and 7 or thereabouts. So it varies widely, but I'd say this: it's a good living and it's also very rewarding. Education for me is extremely rewarding, and one of the things that they don't talk about a lot is the opportunities to do other things when you are in education. So there is opportunity to consult. So because my expertise is in research, I'm able to do research projects for corporate clients, to teach other classes, do workshops and things like that to make independent income in addition to my salary at my job.
Okay, so that would include the multiple hats that you wear. So she has money in each of those hats. Everybody who's watching, you realize she has that income coming into each of those hats that she would wear. What from your standpoint though, what attributes or what lessons or what give me one of the most difficult lessons you had to learn in getting where you are in this career?
To be honest, patience is going to be a virtue in academia as a whole. It is a solitary journey for a lot of people, meaning when you are studying, for example, especially if you've graduated with your bachelor's degree and some of your friends are in industry and they're advancing, right? And you have decided you are going to go the more academic path. It means many more years of schooling. I went to university from 2003 to 2015 with only a 3-year break in any of those, in that entire time. So that's a lot of years of schooling. So even though I am doctor now, there was a time when I felt like, oh my gosh, look at all my friends. They are, manager of this and manager of that, and I'm still just a student, right? So there is that. Definitely you are going to have to be a hard worker and also self-motivated, especially because when you do a PhD, there are times when you're doing classes and that is, the deadlines are set within those classes themselves. But when you get to that part where you have to do your independent research, then you have to be pushing yourself along every step of the way. And so that is definitely going to be something that you have to work on.
All right, Dr. Piper, thank you for sharing with us. Dr. Piper, lecturer, well, let me not say lecturer, educator, marketing communications specialist. Is there any other title I should throw in there?
Blogger.
Blog. All right. Where can we get access to that blog?
Jamaican Scholar on YouTube and also on Instagram. And actually the content that I post is a lot about education. If you want to pursue higher education, tons of useful content about how to go about it.
Awesome. So viewers, if you want to follow her, if you want to get more insight into what Dr. Piper does, you can follow her on YouTube. If you want to get a direct contact, just message us, reach out to us, and we'll make that contact for you. Thank you very much, Dr. Piper, for sharing with us.
No problem.
All right. So right now, before we go to our next interviewee, let's see everybody who is tuned in. Let's just give you an incentive. And we don't want this to be the major focus, but we have prizes and surprises here. We have some Amazon gift cards. We're sponsored some digital credit. So we want you to be able to get some of these benefits while you're collecting some of these gems. So quickly, I'm just going to read this out and let's see how quick you are in getting this. All right, so this is some credit for you. 1 7 4 5 5 9 6 5 5 2 6 0 5. All right, I'm going to say it one more time. That's 1 7 4 5 5 9 6 5 5 2 6 0 5. Now, if you got it, just comment that you got it. Whether it's on our YouTube or Zoom account, just comment that you got it and we'll move on. All right. But thank you very much, Dr. Piper. Now, the creative industries is something that a lot of Jamaicans are just getting tapped into. I really decided to explore my own creative side as a public relations practitioner because I realized that that outlet of me needed to express itself. So I decided to get into videography and photography, and I did that, at the I Create Institute. Now, Tyrone Wilson is one of the pioneers for pushing the recognition on the creative industries and the creative aspects of and the creative potential of our economy. So I'd like to welcome Tyrone Wilson now to our discussion. Tyrone.
Yes, thank you, Matthew.
Greetings, Tyrone. How are you doing?
Boy, hanging in there, tough times.
All right, so Tyrone, I will tell people, where in Jamaica are you now? Or are you even in Jamaica?
Yes, I'm in office.
All right, in office.
Yeah, I'm at our I Create Kingston location.
All right, great. So Tyrone, for those of us who don't know, we're seeing these big titles, president, CEO, but who is Tyrone? What is Tyrone's occupation? What is Tyrone's specialty? What is Tyrone away from CEO and president of iCreate?
Well, I think my specialty is, entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. My specialty is entrepreneurship. Whether it's, definitely I'm passionate about the creative economy and developing the creative economy. But my passion is just really to aid in the development of, our economy in general.
So a lot of times, well, I don't know what the context is now because I'm not as young as I used to be. But growing up, thinking about getting into the creative areas, and whether it is arts or whatever it is, digital media, it wasn't something that was encouraged fully back when I was growing up because it wasn't seen as a field that persons could really make a complete living from. It was seen as more of a hobby. Has that changed?
Well, sorry. First, Matthew, let me say good day to my fellow panelists. Good afternoon, everyone. Pardon my manners. And good afternoon to all the attendees joining in. Matthew, I think when you look at the, our economy now, when we were attending high school back in the days and so forth, the creative arts and creative, subjects and so forth were a bit frowned upon. Well, not a bit, frowned upon a lot.
Definitely.
And, fairly so because, it is tough to understand the potential of, creative careers. It's quite an intangible at times. And, for parents, they wanted their children to really study something more as they think more significant. But now with the growth of technology and globalization and so forth, and the demand for creative talent, not just music, but film, with the growth of Netflix, Hulu, HBO now, Amazon Prime, all these what we call OTT, over the top networks, which are now just straight. When they say over the top, it's just straight over the internet to us through our devices and so forth. And the globalization in terms of the reach, the advancement of the technology to enable the reach for people like us. What happened now is that the demand for creative talent has grown significantly. And this is not just in film and TV, but it's also in music, right? Apple pretty much upended or disrupted the market back then with the iPods, but now they streaming with Apple and all other platforms and so forth, Tidal and so forth. What you find now is that our appetite for music, for example, as a creative output, has grown significantly. So I want to hear more and more every day because we're streaming. Back then we're buying an album, but now we're streaming whatever we want to stream. So that now puts a kind of creative burden, I would say, on the creators, which is a high demand that we need to satisfy. So when you look at where the creative economy is now, not just in Jamaica, but globally, but impacting a lot of developing countries, the talent is needed. And because the talent is needed, it has created an avenue for, iCreate, for example, which is focusing on short courses. We have individuals who, they want to learn how to do their podcasts. And because of that, they come in, do a quick one-day podcast course, learn and move on.
So you're finding that more persons are embracing and tapping into their own creative aspects of themselves.
Definitely, and it's also one of the easiest industries to become an entrepreneur in. So I find a lot of people are, because your capital is your creative capital. So podcasts, for example, you're very good at hosting shows and so forth. You can jump on a podcast, you come to iCreate, you learn how to create a podcast and so forth, and you move out and you start to create. So yes, there is that demand and so forth, and the creative economy, because of how it is booming now. Even during COVID, some events and so forth would have suffered, but there was still a big need for creative output, creative content and so forth.
So you just discussed the fact that there are low barriers to entry. So if I wanted to get into, let's say, videography, basically it wouldn't be as difficult to enter that industry or enter that field as it may be accounting.
Precisely. There are different tiers. And I think even accounting and a lot of those other areas are realizing how much the world is changing. So there are more shorter courses that you can do now to enter the field, in a sense, as opposed to before. But in the creative economy, it's way easier. Video editing and because of the different platforms being created for outsource in terms of, we want somebody to edit this video right now. They can go on, like, I think it's Fiverr or Fever, and you'll see jobs. You can do the jobs, get paid, move on, do another job. All of these things are happening now. So definitely it is easier for individuals to get involved in these fields.
So for young people watching now, because one of the major reasons we decided to put this webinar together is because a lot of young people would have missed or would not have been able to have gotten to attend, their own schools' career fairs to get some insight as to what careers would have interested them.
Yeah,
what is the most popular? Thank you for that, and thank you to Link Your Purpose as well. But what areas do you find are the most trending right now? I know you just mentioned podcasting, You just discussed videography. But what areas, what aspects, what fields do you find in the creative economy that are most needed right now?
In COVID or just generally?
Yeah, man, right now in COVID.
Right now. Well, I mean, you mentioned it, video, but more from a streaming standpoint. Even these meetings, hosting these meetings, editing this session after it has been, created, to be more presentable and, attractive and so forth. Podcasts, you mentioned it also, that is going up in terms of individuals listening to podcasts and so forth, because the typical means of sharing content now have been have changed pretty much because individuals can't be in studio anymore, social distancing, all of these different changes that we have to be going through. So and it's not just around that, but also on mobile devices, right? So before we used to have all of these big cameras shooting, streaming, and so forth. But now, listen, we can't do all of that. People can't come out, so we need to execute this on our phones and so forth. How can we do this in a creative way? And again, Jamaica has led the way in that. If you look at the Versus thing that happened with Beanie and Bob, for example, one of the best productions out of all of them. No glitch, full entertainment, and it has pretty much, again, put us on the map, right? So those things are required now. Companies are holding AGMs, they need those streamings and so forth for the AGM. So those are things you have to look at.
So what careers in the creative fields would you say are the most rewarding financially?
Well, a lot. Video is a big field, right? I think the growing demand for video content, is going to be good for us globally, not just here in Jamaica. So video content is very important. Digital marketing is growing and growing very fast. It's growing at exponential rates just in terms of ad spend. As you know, ad spend have been typical traditional, but now it's moving from traditional to spending a lot more on digital. And I think this COVID-19 will push the spend and the consumption further at more accelerated pace. And you'll find that a lot of careers in digital marketing will become in high demand and so forth. So those areas, general content creation will always be on the rise, whether it's podcasts, how to write content, create content, conceptualize, whether it's podcasts in radio form, voice form, video, in terms of even this and so forth. So those are areas that are in high demand.
All right, great. So and each of those disciplines that you just mentioned, of course, I create offers courses in them as well. Now
Sure.
I have yes, I have a question coming in. As a content creator, somebody asked, as a content creator, how do you prevent yourself from being burnt out, one, and how do you protect your work?
Well, those are two almost impossible things as content creators, as creatives. Good question. One thing happened just recently, I believe, is some legal suit between a Jamaican who Jay-Z and Beyonce featured on their album, who she participated on the intro tour to their album, but they didn't tell her that they're going to use it in the album, right? They say it was just a promotional purposes, whatever. She didn't sign a contract. She just recorded it. They use it as an intro. Apparently, it's a big song because now it is just so important because of the racism that's going on and so forth. So it ended up being right now one of the most listened to songs on the album that they put out. And now it's in the courts, or about to be in the courts. So, what she could have done there, maybe nothing. She was there, came out, maybe they love her voice, and just say, hey, you can do this, and Jay-Z and Beyonce, why not? Let me jump on it. And you had no time to say, let me get a lawyer, let me get this XYZ. It's kind of tough. As I was saying to someone, I don't think Jay-Z and Beyonce themselves did it. It's maybe some of the people who are working on their team executing this. It was sloppy on their end to, being at the level that they're on, to be
Definitely.
using paperwork without proper documentation and protection and so forth. So sometimes it's difficult to avoid that, but always try to take the right steps to protect your work. And being burnt out, sometimes if you are creative, if you're passionate, you're going to be burnt out. Take some rest, always important. I'm very grateful for COVID on one side, in that it allows me the time to rest and slow down and relax. I'm happy for that. But in the normal workspace, if you're burnt out as a creative, the truth is you're going to be your creativity will be very low.
Definitely. 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 All right. And lastly, wrapping up, Tyrone, what
Yes.
attributes do you think are important to being successful as a creative?
So as a creative, one second. So being successful as a creative, I think one is understanding the industry. Too often people just have the creative talent and they don't understand how the industry works, right? We're passionate, we're creative, but we don't have an enterprise in mind. And it doesn't matter if you're working for someone or for yourself, you have to understand how money is made. And I see a lot of creatives who, have the talent, they come with great ideas, but they don't know how to earn from those ideas. When you ask them, so how are you going to make money? They can't tell you, right? Or where they think the money will be made is not necessarily where, the money will be made. So it is very important to understand the industry and be a student of creativity. One of the biggest and best creative the world has seen is Steve Jobs, but he's also one of the most successful entrepreneurs. And his company is the most valuable company in the world. So that is the balance between profit and creativity. It's a great fusion, and it has created a powerhouse for Apple. So anybody getting into business have to understand how you earn into creativity, have to understand how the industry works and so forth, and how you make money and those. That's the most important thing for me. It's not just the talent or the creativity or the passion.
All right. Thank you very much, Tyrone, for joining. And everybody who is interested in exploring their own creative side, you can feel
You're
free to check
welcome.
out Tyrone. I think it is Carl Tyrone. Carl
Yeah,
Tyrone on
Paul Tyrone
Instagram. And
underscore
also,
W. Mm-hmm.
yes, and also you can visit icreate.edu. Have a look at
Right.
the short courses and the programs that they have. And even if you're not sure what you're interested in, I'm sure that Tyrone and his team will be able to provide any kind of coaching or guidance that you
For sure.
may need.
For sure.
All right. Thank you
And
for joining us, Tyrone.
thanks for having me. And I'm sorry to be running, Matthew. I have a major training session starting shortly. So I'm just going to jump out. But anybody that have questions, they can always share my email and you can send it over. And, wish our panelists all the best. I say, Che Bowen, Dr. Bowen is a panelist too. Big up, Che. And all the best to you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for joining us, Tyrone.
Yeah.
All right. So anybody that has any questions for Tyrone, you can send them to us. We'll also share his information, and you can find him easily on Instagram and Twitter. So if you want to explore your creative side, that is one of the ways that you can do it. And let's jump right into this next one now. So this one now, we're going all the way to, is it Central Europe? Is it Central or Northern Europe? I'm not sure, but it's in Europe. It's definitely in Europe. We're going to the Netherlands. We're going to Holland, and we're going to be tapping into another panelist, another interviewee, and that is Tracy Ann Mako. Tracy Ann, where are you?
Yeah, I'm here. And thank you. It's been a while since I've heard my name pronounced right and easily the first time. So this is good. It just, yeah, it's like, yeah, of course I'm with like my people, so it makes sense.
I'll
Um,
try to say it as much as I can throughout this.
no, thank you. It's
So
really great.
Tristan, where are you exactly?
Yeah, I'm in Amsterdam in the Netherlands. Western Europe, I guess, is what persons would say. Northern Europe. And yeah, I'm here. It's around 10:40 p.m. But yeah, I'm sitting in my apartment in Amsterdam in the Netherlands.
All right, thank you for joining us, Tracy. And so tell me, what is it that you do?
So the title that I gave is Diversity and Inclusion Coordinator. But really, I don't necessarily use a title for my work. I am the coordinator of a program at an art school called Unsettling. And it's a program that works with making the school more radically inclusive. And so that means thinking about diversity in relation to racial diversity, in relation to different gender identities, different kinds of sexualities, and just making sure the school is inclusive for all, for everyone. But it did really for me and for the school start from really thinking about diversity and the fact that the school was not representative of the city, especially in
Okay,
terms of having a diversity of races at the school, both in terms of teaching and with students. So that's what I mostly work on for my, yeah, sort of part of my work is really focused on diversity and inclusion in the arts in general. Yeah.
so what led you to this field? What drove it to this? I mean, everybody growing up. I mean, I heard a rumor. I'm not sure if it's true.
Mhm.
I'm not sure if Lanicia can co-sign this. But are you from Mandeville?
I am, yeah, I'm from
So all
Mandeville.
the way from Mandeville to Amsterdam,
Yeah.
and I think Erica Simmons joining in is from Mandeville as well. This seems
Yay.
like an invasion. But what
I'm
led you
close
to
to
that career?
Manchester because that's the school. Just so you okay.
Okay, all right. But what led you to that career?
Yeah, so it is a sort of a winding road to here. I'm happy I'm here. I mean, and I think I think of myself, I'm doing this particular thing now, but I think of myself more broadly as someone who works in the arts, someone who does both research and practice, like sort of, it's like I would say a practitioner in the arts, but who cares mostly about Black people and community in relation to Black people. And so I sort of bring that into the art. So I could be doing this now, and then next week I'm just sort of like running a platform that works on Black community and Black togetherness. So I think, yeah. So in terms of my career, it's a bit broad as well. But I wanted to be a doctor when I left high school. I went to school in the US for undergrad, and I majored in chemistry and anthropology. And so blame the anthropology for getting me here eventually. But
Uh-huh.
the idea was that I was going to go to medical school after undergrad, and then I just didn't. I went to Swanee. Someone is asking which school. I went to Swanee University of the South in Tennessee. After Manchester High, which is, yeah. But yeah, so then I didn't go to medical school. I decided not to in my last year of college. I just stopped, didn't do the MCATs, and just decided instead that I wanted to go to graduate school for anthropology because I cared more about sort of the social aspects of work, sort of diseases and, yeah, social ills more than medicine. And then I went back to Jamaica, did a master's degree, and then decided to come actually to the Netherlands to do a PhD. So I started doing a PhD in art, studying street art in Jamaica, which is fantastic. So in getting into the arts and in learning more about sort of the arts and visual arts and museums and galleries and kind of just seeing the world of the arts here in the Netherlands, I realized that there was really, yeah, a need to have more diversity and inclusivity in the arts. And I'm
Okay.
very, so that's really what kind of brought me to where I am now, but it's kind of a longer road.
I'm hearing. I mean, and before I get back to that aspect, I wanted to know at what age did you figure it out? I
I,
mean, in high school, you're expected to figure out what your journey is from as early as or as late as grade nine or third form. You know,
yeah,
your subjects are chosen for you. You have to be thinking of a narrowed path. You know, based it almost seems as if in high school, you know, it's do or die. You select this thing, you have to make a choice right now. But at what age did you figure out what you want to do?
Yeah, I think, I mean, I could
And
say
you don't
a
have to
year
give the
ago.
exact age. You can give a range if you're more comfortable with that.
No, but I mean, that's what I think the idea is that what you need to do is to have, I think, certain values and certain principles and certain things that really drive you in life. And so if you have that, then the actual career that you have may change, right? And you can also be flexible with that if you have the possibility to do that. So I think, of course, depending on where you are, there are probably more opportunities to switch. But for me, I think that whenever I go back in time, so for example, 10 years ago, I was in South Africa and I decided that I didn't want to do medicine anymore. And then I was again there just recently, and I was thinking nothing has really changed, even though my career has changed. I still care about the same things. So I think the idea is not necessarily sometimes to just figure out what your career is, but to figure out what drives you and what you care about. So I don't want to say I've even figured it out, because at 40, I could be doing something completely different, but I'd be caring about exactly the same things. So yeah, I think that's what I'd want to recommend. Yeah,
Okay,
to everyone
so
who's listening. Yeah.
so how lucrative is is getting into this area now? I mean, diversity and inclusion, and I'm sure that there's some activism blended in there. How lucrative is this for young people who are hearing all of this, all of these wonderful titles and terms, and you live in the Netherlands, the benefits of being in Amsterdam. I won't mention them, but how lucrative is being in this field?
Lucrative, huh? I'd say don't enter if what you want is money, because I think the field is really about passion for like society and the Black community, and especially with everything that's happening now in the world. Like, there's a lot that I think we all want to do to try and make it a better place for us as Black people. So I'd say, yeah, if money is driving you, no. However, I do think it's important that you make enough money to live in the world and to not struggle. So for me, I'm not struggling. But and so I think that, yeah, the it's kind of difficult to answer. I think just like what Dr. Piper was saying, is that if you have a situation where if I was working for a large organization, I could earn, 4,000 euros a month or something. But for me, I'm also sort of working in a way that allows me a lot of flexibility. So I prefer to have flexibility over a larger income, so I can do other things that interest me. So I think so I think you have to sort of like balance that out. But if you are supposed to, I think another thing that because you're talking about me being in Amsterdam, and obviously I'm Jamaican, even if I sound weird, but I'm Jamaican, and I came to Amsterdam 6 years ago. And I think maybe what I'd recommend to persons, if you're thinking about careers and you're thinking about leaving Jamaica, is to think, okay, one, I'd recommend that if you want to leave Jamaica, that I suggest that you do it, because it does allow for a variety of possibilities. And it also allows for you maybe to be able to earn enough to do something that you're actually really passionate about, and still be able to live a life that may not be the flashiest life, but a life where you can accommodate and do all the travel and all the different things that you love to do. So yeah, so I'm fine if that's a question.
All right, we can definitely see that. So, in wrapping up, what gems can you give to young people tuning in to us now on Zoom and YouTube? What gems can you give to help guide them to where they think they need to be,
Yeah,
especially to the point where they're comfortable in the work, they can
yeah.
live and travel.
Yeah, I'd say, yeah, maybe travel is the first. I'd say for me, I'm grateful because I left, yeah, Manchester High and went to school abroad. And then, yeah, I mean, Lanicia also, I mean, I then also lived elsewhere outside of Jamaica before now. And I'd say for me, it's to root yourself in your country. I'm very much like a Jamaican. I'm glad that I've lived there as an adult and rooted myself there. But I'd also say, be open to going abroad and to seeing what possibilities. Because for me, if I didn't go to school in the US, I wouldn't even think of studying anthropology, for example. And it's anthropology that has brought me to where I am now. So I'd say that would be the first thing, is to explore possibilities outside Jamaica as well. but definitely keep rooted in Jamaica because you need that for your own identity. And then I'd also suggest that, yeah, as I was saying before, that you think about your values when you're thinking about the career and what motivates you and what kind of work you like to do, not only the specific career that you like to do. So that allows you to be flexible. And yeah, you can do one thing at 30, something at 40, something at 50, something at 60. There's no such thing as like just always, I mean, there can be, but you don't have to stick to exactly the same thing throughout your life.
Okay, and I know I need to wrap up now, but I wanted to find out. This is the last question I have for you.
Yeah.
Are you, well, this organization, are they hiring or are they taking interns, willing to take Jamaicans, bring them to the Netherlands, put them up, give them the experience, the international experience? I just had to ask that question.
I think, because when I was thinking, when you're talking about interns earlier, I mean, I think what is possible is, because I work in the arts, I think if there are persons who are already in the arts who would like to have more international experience, that it is something that you can contact me and I can see if it is something that's possible, because we're definitely, when you're thinking about diversity and inclusion, also thinking, who can we invite from elsewhere that can come here, that can sort of liaise and sort of learn from here, but also teach persons here about their own work. So for sure, if there are persons who are in the arts who would like to talk to me or get in touch, then we can have conversations about that. We'd
All
love to
right,
have you
great,
here.
everybody.
They love Jamaicans here, so yeah, definitely.
Okay, so great. Everybody heard that. That seems to be an open invitation. So what we'll do, if you'd like to make contact with her, just send the information to us through Zoom or YouTube, and we'll make that contact for those of you who are interested in learning a little more about Tracy and her journey in terms of working towards diversity and inclusion. And I didn't get to touch the activism aspect, but we'll leave that for another time, given all that's happening in the world right now. So I thank you, Tracy, and oh, there's a question. All right,
Okay. Okay, so should I read the question because I can see it?
you can definitely.
Okay. So it says, how has the standard of living and culture in the Netherlands affected your studies there? Hi. Um, so I haven't I okay. I think when in thinking, one of the things that did bring me into working a lot in with diversity and inclusion was because of my experience doing my PhD in a white institution. So I also co-founded the Amsterdam Black Women Collective, which is a collective here in the Netherlands that's 5 years old, and we have about 1,000 women here in the Netherlands that are a part of our group, and we do different things. And the reason for that is because I felt the need to have Black community. And the reason I'm bringing that up is because I think when you think about what a culture can be when you study abroad, is that you're also thinking about how are you as a Black person in these institutions and how that might affect you. So I'd say that, to tell the truth, that was one of the biggest things that affected me here. And even though I was very much respected and my voice and my sort of academic ability was appreciated, you can still see the ways in which institutional racism plays a role in schools. In terms of standard of living, I'd say one of the things that's really good here, and but let me just the reason I was not wanting to I wanted to, but I still want to encourage everyone that if you want to definitely still apply and move abroad, it still broadens your possibilities. And it's still, and you can also, I mean, I'm still here and I'm still thriving, right? So it's possible for you to still thrive even in situations where you can experience different aspects of relating to your race. But for standard of living, I think here what is really good is the way in which you don't need a lot in order to be able to live a good life. And so that's one of the reasons why I really enjoy living here. It's a beautiful place. The standard of living is very high in the sense of not necessarily, it's not flashy, but everything that you need sort of like for your everyday life is taken care of in a very sort of healthy way, I would feel. So healthy food, sitting outside in the sun, just, so I'd say it's a really I think I'd say overall for me, I made a good decision to come here, and I made a good decision to study here and to be here. So yeah. That's my honest answer.
Thank you very much, Tracy. And of course, as she underscored, traveling abroad opens your perspective and you really get to understand and get a wider view of the world. You know, while we love Jamaica and we think our country culture, what well not think our culture is the best in the world. It's nice to travel and open your perspective to other cultures and different people. All right, thank you very much, Tracy, and thank you for joining us. So thank you, Dr. Piper. Thank you. Well, let me just say Dr. Naleen Leslie Piper. Thank you, Tracy and Michael. And thank you, Tyrone Wilson. All right, I now hand over to Lanicia.
Well, thank you so much, Matthew. That was such a very informative and inspiring session, just listening to the three first panelists just share their career journey. And we're going to go right into the second session. We have three amazing panelists who are going to be sharing their journey with us. And we're going to start out with Erica Simmons, who is the Executive Director of the Andrew Wheatley Center for Digital Innovation and Advanced Manufacturing at the Caribbean Maritime University. She's also a global business strategist. And I'm sure for many of us, we don't know what that means. So Erica is going to be telling us all about that. She has worked across the world, basically in all the continents, and she has not only worked in her career field, but she is also a philanthropist. And so, Erica, how did you, as a woman, as a Jamaican woman from Mandeville, like myself, Tracy Ann, how did you get into this field that has taken you across borders and back here in Jamaica creating impact?
Yeah, so thank you for having me on this wonderful event today. I'm a daughter of the Red Dirt from Mandeville, Manchester, very proud of that. And, I moved from Mandeville when I was about 11 years old to the United States with my family. And as a teenager, I didn't know what I wanted to do in college. I entered into the university in Texas, and for the first 2 years, I didn't know what I wanted to do. I was a person who had a lot of broad interests. I had interests in a lot of different areas. I was very artistic as well. I had an engineering mindset. And then I had a really strong affinity to people and people in poverty, people from countries like Jamaica. So after I went through my college career, I settled in on sociology as being my degree, minor in political science. And I thought that I was going to be a social scientist. I wanted to go and be a social worker and to help people, at a very person level where I could, have my hands on someone and say, let's go in this direction. Shortly after graduating from college, though, I took the first job that I could get, and I worked at the U.S. Postal Service in human resources for a few years, and that was an interesting experience. During that time, they had a lot of, at the time they were doing a lot of, they had a lot of violence in the post office, put it that way. They used to have a term called going postal, where people would like go crazy and have violence in the post office. So I was in that environment during that time, and I got to kind of see a crisis situation, how you handle, those kinds of incidents. And I stayed there for a couple years, and I probably could have been something big in the Postal Service, but I decided after 3 years that I was going to leave and I was going to go into another industry. I'd gotten a call to work in the enterprise software industry for a company called Oracle Corporation, and they're based in Redwood City, California. And that's how I got into the enterprise software industry. And as a result of being in that industry, I got a chance to learn about technical things. I got a chance to learn about databases. I got a chance to learn about applications. In my first couple of years, I worked in marketing. So I was a marketing person. I worked with our sales teams. And I was responsible for putting together events and different programs that the salespeople could use to help close their business. So at the time, there were huge budgets. I mean, for one industry, I supported two. I got somewhere in the range of 250,000 US dollars, and I could plan out any event, activities that I wanted to do to help our salesperson. So I got a chance to use my creative side, plan out events. We went to the museums, we took them to the ballpark, we did seminars, technical seminars. So it was really organizing all of that and being in charge of all of that on the marketing side. I went on to work in other companies in enterprise software. I worked at a company that did learning management systems and performance management systems for companies. And I supported the Asia Pacific and Latin America region in that company. And but recently, 15 years almost, I spent some time in a company called Siemens, AG. And Siemens is a German company. They make a lot of things. They're actually a conglomerate. They make a lot of industrial things, a lot of power solutions. But I worked in the division that was the software division for their industrial systems and their manufacturing systems. And in that division, I also worked in marketing. I was product marketing, so I was a technical marketing person. So I was the one that took the messaging and positioning about the product that the engineers came up with, massaged it, copyrighted it, got it together, and then we could give it to the salespeople for them to go out and take the message out to the market, because we had to, I don't want to say dumb it down, but we had to put it into layman's terms so that the salespeople could go and take it out. So I got a chance to work there, and I just want to share my screen. I put together a short presentation. I want to show you guys some pictures. Okay, so I just wanted to show you this one first, just to say today I had Andrew Holness in my office, our Prime Minister, woo, woo, showing him about our work that we're doing in the area of additive manufacturing. So my life today can be anywhere from demonstrating things for our Prime Minister to sitting with a student and walking them through a project that we're doing, or meeting with an industry provider to talk about the transformation, that they have had to do, that they need to do. But because of my focus in the technology industry, I got to go to all these amazing places. Look at me in all these amazing places. First of all, let's just start with the upper left. If you guys are a fan of The Sound of Music, you should recognize that church. That's the church from The Sound of Music in Monza, Austria. Got to go to Salzburg, Austria. And these are just a small view of what I was able to do with my career. Also got a chance to go to Amsterdam, wonderful city. Look at all the bicycles. That's what I remember from them. They don't drive. They power themselves to work. Bremerhaven up in the north of Germany. I got a chance to visit the wind farms and learn about the offshore industry there. Paris, Beverly Hills, New Orleans, the Rhine River, St. Louis. So I wanted to say that I have been able to see all of these parts of the world by focusing on a career in the enterprise software industry, which allowed me to travel all over the world. So I got a chance to do that by focusing on an industry sector enterprise software.
Okay, wow, that's amazing. That's really amazing. And I'm sure
places, but you can travel in this industry. It's a global industry, and there are lots of places to go and see.
Awesome, awesome. So that reminds me, when I was a child, I've always wanted to travel the world. And so I thought I had to be a flight attendant in order to travel the world. But that's not the case. I could become a global business strategist. I could be working in technology. I could be working in marketing or sales. It's how you're actually able to navigate the space to get what you want to do and to live that passionate or fulfill your career based on your passion. So tell us, Erica, was there any specific qualifications? I know you've shared your experiences that led you to where you are at now, but was there a specific requirement in terms of an academic qualification that you needed to get to where you are right now?
You had to have a degree. So
Any
you have to
degree?
have any degree.
Okay.
My degree was in social sciences, which is not considered a technical subject. But what you need to have more than a degree, and probably more than anything else, is the desire to learn, the aptitude to learn, the drive to learn something new. And because I was open in that way, and I was accepting to say that I'm going to learn whatever is put in front of me, I'm going to learn, I'm going to soak it in, and I'm going to learn, and I'm going to parlay it into something. And it's because I had the ability to learn very quickly and implement. I got the opportunity to work from I went from marketing, which was just about planning events, into product marketing, which was more technical, understanding of the product, being able to talk about the product technically, into then being on the sales side and being in front with the customer, which is where all the money is in terms of the focus of these big businesses. It's really to drive sales, right? And then I got to then have another career in product development because I was out with sales. I got to listen what the customer wants. Then I parlayed that into a career in product development where I was creating products that the industry wanted. I was able to obtain 2 patents by working at Siemens, and it wasn't because I was some technical person. I wasn't the smartest one. I am just dedicated, focused. If we have a job to do, we're doing our job. And I was really good at getting other people to do the job with me. I would lock my hands in with them and said, we're going in this together. If I've got to go create this new product, I'm taking 4 people with me and we're going to work on it. And that was really the qualification that I had. Not necessarily on the academic side, but I had to check that box. But I knew how to be persuasive. I knew how to communicate. I knew how to be a team player, right? Those are the soft skills that are going to be required for the future. I knew how to have emotional intelligence, that if I was the only Black woman in a group of 100 men, that I could be emotionally intelligent about that and not feel deficient because I was a woman or anything like that. I was in the middle. I was leading the team. By the time I got done with them, they were all following me. Come on, we're going this way. And so we have to have kind of that conviction to be able to play in the big leagues with the big boys like I did. And I was very successful because I wasn't afraid and I was open to learning what we needed to learn.
Okay, awesome. I have 2 questions left for you, Erica. Do you think your international experience played a part in getting you the position that you have now at the Caribbean Maritime University? And was it easier for you because of your international experience?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, so whenever you have the name Siemens on your resume, which is the company that I worked for, it really comes with a lot of weight. It came with a lot of respect. It comes with a lot of respect even in industry. So when I came to CMU, I decided I was going to move back to Jamaica after being gone for 30 years because I said, hey, I had been doing all of this stuff. I had been in the boardroom. I had made a lot of money for the company. I mean, a lot. I felt like I needed to bring this back to Jamaica, what I had been learning. And, I was on this reconnaissance mission and I was getting all this exposure. And I felt like I could not keep this to myself and even keep it within the company. I had a bigger purpose, and my purpose was to come back and serve our country. So when I said that, you know, I was moving back to Jamaica, and this Caribbean Maritime University was going through a transition, and they were going into a university, and they were investing in all this technology, and I said I was coming back, it was like, you know, it was like, Erica, you have to come here, come work with us. And it's been a pleasure for me over the last 3 years to come here and to see the work that I was doing overseas being instantiated here at the university, and to bring the students through. And we have students all over the country that come through here and look at the future of work and see where we're going. And my whole vision was really to bring that here, because we could never imagine what was going on outside of our borders. We had to have it here. We had to touch the technology, feel the technology. And so that's what we're doing here at CMU. But definitely my background, the exposure that I had, the fact that I was working at the top echelon of international business had a lot to do with my being able to secure this position at the CMU.
Okay, awesome. Now, I noticed that it's a trend. Everybody in the first session has said that they're not suffering, they're living great, they're living well. So in your career field, are you living well? Can someone live well by combining technology with business, you know, that enterprising career?
So I want to tell you that I have never made as much money that I've ever made in my entire life. When I worked in the enterprise software industry, I was getting close to upwards of 200,000 US dollars a year for my career there. And that was working in product marketing. You know, I wasn't even a salesperson. Salespeople in that industry make millions of dollars. So it was a very lucrative career. And I always tell people, for the software industry and enterprise software, you don't have to be the software engineer. You can be the marketing person, you can work in human resources, you can work in finance, you can work in production, you can work in sales. So I always tell people to look at the enterprise software industry, because they pay a lot. They pay a lot of money. So anything that is in a cutting edge software industry, high-tech industry, you're going to get good salaries. So, and it doesn't matter what you're doing in the industry. Remember, you could be the finance person and be getting stock options and be getting a good salary because you're working in a high-tech company. So I always advocate for people working in a high-tech company, because you're going to see some tremendous growth in those types of companies.
Excellent. And now, do you have any open internship positions at CMU, or are you open to having questions or even mentoring anyone who might be interested in the path that you have already pursued?
Our doors are 100% open here. This is a focus at our center. We have 3 focuses. We focus on our university students, and we bring them into the lab, we work with them. We focus on our industry sector, because we have to enable the digital transformation that we have to see in industry, and we work with society. So I want students coming in here. If you want to learn about how to do a job like me, come and talk to me. I have so many mentees that I'm working with. I just feel like it's my duty to give back to our country and our nation. And so if anybody wants to talk to me, if you need any advice, I will make myself available. I have a team of excellent people who I've trained and are just as enthusiastic as I am. So we can find someone to pair you up with to help you through this journey.
Thank you so much. Amazing. All right. Thank you very much for sharing your journey with us, Erica. It was really a pleasure just listening and even seeing where you've been and what you've been able to do.
It's been great for a young girl from the red dirt in Manchester to have been all those places, and the software industry took me there. And it's great to be back home and to share all of this with everyone as well.
Thank you. We really appreciate it. Right. So we're going to move on to the medical field. Now, all of us have been affected by the coronavirus. And a few weeks ago, I opted to use an online platform where I actually had the chance to book an appointment with a doctor online. The call, in fact, I saw my telephone ringing maybe about a minute before the appointment time. And I answered, and this doctor was asking if I'm this person, if I'm the patient, if I booked the appointment. And it was a smooth flow. I was able to speak with the doctor. She was able to give me suggestions. And today we have the CEO and founder of this platform, MD Link, with us. He started out, and he is still in a very traditional career, yet he has used innovation to take it outside the box. And we're going to be hearing from him today. He's not a Jamaican by birth. He's from our neighboring Caribbean island, Trinidad and Tobago. But he came here to study and he decided to make Jamaica his home. I'm right, Dr. Bowen, you're still in Jamaica?
That's correct. Jamaica loves
Great.
me just as much as I love it.
Okay, amazing. So tell us, Dr. Bowen, how did you get into this field that you're in? Why did you choose to go into medicine? And what prompted you to move from this traditional space into this innovative space that you are now in?
Okay. Thanks for having me, first of all. And the panelists have been excellent. They've been sharing some great tips. I'm really impressed. In terms of me and how I got into MD Link telemedicine, I started off traditional, which was medicine. And my mom was a lawyer, my dad was an accountant. So I just did the next best traditional thing. I really loved medicine. I didn't have anything else in my mind besides entrepreneurship. But I was very young. I had no idea how to even entrepreneur. There was no school to learn to be an entrepreneur, no book to study. But there were medicine books, so I studied those. I came to Jamaica at 18, and after I graduated, I immediately started entrepreneurship. So I was working at Kingston Public Hospital, and I started with a hearse. So I was running a hearse, burying people. I then went into entertainment. So I have a lot of events, which, as we would know, COVID has shut down now. Hopefully that picks back up in 2021, but I did go into events and promotions and marketing and networking, that sort of thing. And then I looked at the digital space. I started to do a lot of reading and reading and reading, and I realized that, hey, I don't want to be traditional anymore. This is getting out of style, you know. Who's going to be a doctor in the next 10 years? Who knows? It's not the thing to be anymore. It's not that interesting. How can I, but I still love it. So how do I merge it? And I'm looking all over for digital ideas, and I come into telemedicine at the time, and that was 2 years ago, and I started MD Link, and I committed hard to MD Link. I focused on it, I gave it my all, and coronavirus did help. That's sad to say, but it did help with the uptake of the MD Link and telemedicine and seeing a doctor on your phone. And people began to appreciate the whole concept. And now I think it has reached a point in the world where telemedicine and digital health in itself is inevitable. Yeah.
Well, amazing. So you are a great example of someone who's really managed to advance your career based on struggles or based on this pandemic that we all are encountering. There are
Correct.
many young people and there are many people worldwide who would have lost their jobs. There are persons who are on the edge, not knowing if they're going to have their jobs, come next week or next month. But
Mm-hmm.
and these persons might be in very traditional fields, right? What would you say is that thing? Is it just a part of your personality? Is it innate that really pushed you to think outside the box? So in addition to your academic interest, would you say that it is some innate personality that pushed you to merge business or to try to find other solutions for medicine?
Yes, I would definitely say it was innate. Again, it comes down to what you focus on, what interests you, what you focus on. That kind of leads your life. So yes, I was a doctor, but I had a lot of other interests. And it's not typical at all for a doctor to stop doctoring and go into entrepreneurship. It's actually two different spectrums, traditional and non-traditional, high risk and low risk. Just study a book and repeat. And then entrepreneurship, you have to lead it the whole way. Um, so I would say it's something that you have to follow. It does come from within, but if you constantly think on something, constantly focus on something, you're doing the research around that topic, eventually your whole system realigns to what you were focusing on. So at this point in my life, I feel like I am a health tech entrepreneur. I'm not a doctor per se. I still see patients, of course, but my main my main cap or hat would be the health tech entrepreneur.
Okay. Now, did you have any, what I'd say, called naysayers along the journey who were saying to you that no, this can't be done, people would not do this? Because again, in this space, you have many persons who they may want to pursue traditional careers, or they may not want to pursue traditional careers, but maybe the institutions and even other persons will say to them, you have to do it in this particular way. Did you have that experience, and how did you overcome?
I definitely had that experience. I mean, telemedicine, seeing a doctor on your phone 2 years ago, people were looking at me like I was crazy, from patients to doctors. But at the same time, I did have my own patients and I could WhatsApp my own patients. I could BlackBerry message my own patients. I could talk to my patients on the phone and they appreciated that. So deep down in my head as a doctor, I knew it would work. I knew it could work. I looked at first world and I saw it being done there. So even though yes, a lot of people definitely didn't believe what what about telemedicine per se. Now that coronavirus has forced it in their faces,
Mhm.
the same doctors that were saying that this is impossible are asking to be on the platform so that they can see their patients. So yes, there were a lot of challenges. There still are a lot of challenges, but I really like what I'm doing. So not to be cliche, but it has become my passion. I was someone who wasn't sure if passions were really a thing, but I think once you give your all into a focus, into one focus or one direction after exploring your other options as best as you can, then that focus becomes your passion. And I realize a lot of the conversation stems back to money. And indeed, you have the opportunity to create as much money as hard as you work.
Mm.
So I would say, I would also add that entrepreneurship and how you get into even something like digital health, it might sound like, oh, I'm a doctor, so first I have to become a doctor. No, you don't actually. That's the beauty of entrepreneurship. If you wanted to, you could just team up with a doctor, team up with a digital creator, a technology expert, someone who does coding, and you can still live your dreams. You can still create and live your dreams. So I say that to say that a lot of your dreams are limited by your own thinking. There's always a way. Someone might say, okay, so where do I get the money to make my dreams come through? There are ways. There are ways. There's always a way. You can borrow from someone, you can apply for a grant, apply for a loan, whatever it takes. You just have to keep working at that constantly and constantly, consistently.
Okay, great. And one more question that I have for you. How did you balance? So you are performing as a medical doctor. Where
Correct.
did you find the time to do all of these other things? Where did you find the time to work on your digital platform? Where did you find the time to do events? How do you balance it all when you have when your passion is in different areas? or you're trying to find your passion, to bring it all together?
To answer that, it's hard. It's a lot of hard work. You have to put in the work. You have to put in the time, the hours. You will know if it's a good idea and it needs the hours, then you just have to put it in. So it's really about working hard, finding the balance in. You wanna structure your days, be as organized as possible, write down the top 3 things you have to do for today and try to stay focused, stay aligned every day, but you have to be beating at it day after day after day after day. Um, the way I was able to balance it is at first it was being a doctor, which was the top, and being a tech entrepreneur was at the bottom. And eventually I would spend more time. I started spending more time on doctoring, then eventually started spending more time on the program coding, developing the branding, building the business. And eventually I more or less fell in love with it. And I diverted from seeing as many patients to more or less building and growing the health business.
Okay, so are you a coder also?
I am not a coder. No, definitely not. I can't write or read code. So that goes to show that I was still able to do it, even though I did not go to coding school.
Right, right. And that's a great point because you can still start a business in an area that you have no knowledge or no experience in once you have the passion and desire. Great. All right, so I have to ask you this question. I'm sure I can answer based on our perception that doctors live well. Is that the truth? And are you living better as a doctor versus a medical tech entrepreneur? Or do you think you may give up your practice and just focus solely on your platform?
Great question. I'm going to answer it direct for everyone listening. Do doctors live well? Specialists live well. Doctors in America live well. Specialists in Jamaica live well. General practitioners, they tend to struggle a bit. So if you're going into medicine, you have to specialize if money is the goal, or go into business. I would say that, yes, it is a nice perception that doctors make a lot of money. Definitely in America, not so much in Jamaica, especially for, again, general practitioners. And medicine as a job, it's becoming more and more saturated. It's a traditional job, and there's so much more that can be done. I would encourage you to look at all the other options as well. And to be honest, from a money standpoint, a lot of other non-traditional jobs are making more or close to or more than what a doctor makes in 2020. So I'm not one to push the traditional careers on people in 2020. Definitely not. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Well, thank you so much for sharing, Dr. Bowen. I'm sure it has been very enlightening to persons who had a particular perception about doctors and to those who are looking to go into the field.
To get some of the docs.
Okay. Great. All right, thank you. If you have any questions for those who are watching for Dr. Bowen, then please just send it in the chat. Are you open to taking anyone who might be interested, whether it's in telemedicine or interested in understudying you as a doctor and to learn about how you got into the field that you're in? Are you interested in doing that? Are you open to
100%. They can send me an email, drchebowen@gmail.com. I am not a scary guy, so feel free to approach me.
Okay, great. Thank you so much.
All right, thanks for having me.
It's our pleasure. Okay, our next panelist for this segment is a young lady. She's also a doctor, but not a medical doctor. She is one of the leaders. In fact, she's the only person in Jamaica who I know with her title And I met her while I was in high school. I think we did sixth form together. But she is Dr. Olivia Rose Esperance. So I hope I'm pronouncing the word correctly. But she is an applied sports psychologist. You see her on the television all the time talking about sports psychologists and about athletes, not only what they do, but their mindset. Um, she was one of the she actually started the first sports psychology conference in the Caribbean, and that was, I think, a few years ago. And she's going to tell us how she got into this field. Who's a sports psychologist? This is a career that you call non-traditional. Not many persons know or knew that this was even possible. So tell us, Dr. Rose Esperance, what exactly do you do as an applied sports psychologist, and how did you get into this field?
All right. First of all, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you so much for having me. And good afternoon to the panelists and for those on YouTube and here on Zoom, this Zoom webinar. I have been listening to the different professionals talk about their career and their journey. And I was here wondering, which one would I choose now? So thank you so much for having me. All right, so sports psychology is really the application of psychological principles and techniques in a sports setting. All right, so what do I mean by that? It simply means that you need to be a psychologist first and make those applications in a sport context. And we work with a wide range of people. I think I just want to share a little presentation that I did so that you can have an idea as to what exactly it is. And I tried to answer all the questions that were asked, so it would be very easy for us to just get through this. All right.
Great, you can go ahead.
Oops. All right, great. So we're talking about innovative and non-traditional careers. I don't really think my career is non-traditional. It's probably on the innovative side, but there have been sports psychologists from even as late as the 1960s, but it is still a relatively new field in this side of the world. And I think one of the main questions was, what's a career like and what do I do in the field? I was so happy when I saw the word field because I actually do work in a literal field sometimes. I do work. We really work. I'm not going to go around working, you know. There is no shortcut to working, but what type of work? So our work entails consultation, research, and teaching, of which I do all three. And we work with a wide cross-section of people, which include coaches, parents, sports administrators, and match officials, and just anybody that you can think of that has an interest in sport. Those are some of our clients. And a typical day at work looks like this. It depends. So on tour, we have different days. They're just 3 days of the week. You see that over there. There's training day, match day, rest day, traveling, living at hotels, living out of a suitcase. Off tour, you have research, group consultation, presentations, meetings, individual consultations. You need to be extremely flexible. So this is a typical work day. I think going to the beach is not in bikini like everybody else. This was actually after one of the relaxation techniques that I would have done with a team. And we were near the beach. So, I mean, I said, okay, this is the closest you can get going into the beach because we're actually at work, right? So you do get to travel a lot. I think Erica in her presentation made reference to traveling a lot, but it's not as exciting when you're traveling for work versus when you're traveling for vacation. There are huge differences, and you are pretty much, especially as a sports psychologist, on call 24/7. How can you get into this career? You need to school. You know, this is one of those school driven careers, at least initially. And CXC, CAPE, first degree in psychology, applied psychology, sports psychology, MSc or PsyD or PhD in psychology, applied psychology, clinical psychology, sports psychology, counseling, any one of those will do, and supervision for 4,000 hours after that by a licensed psychologist. And then, you know, there's always continuous professional development. Additional requirements needed, you know, discipline is a must. You just don't get around without discipline, because there are just so many things that you need to do. You need to be a team player. I think Erica also mentioned that being able to work ad hoc hours, great interpersonal skills, willingness to learn. I think Dr. Boyne also mentioned that being adaptable and flexible, being emotionally intelligent, public speaking, you have to speak to people, solutions oriented, and of course, you need to be able to survive effectively away from family and friends for long periods of time. And why did I choose this career? This is one of the careers, I think this one chose me. And it was really that I was in, needed to sign up for practicum. And I chose the sport department at the time where I was completing my master's. And the rest, I've just stayed there since 2008, well, 2007 to be precise, and worked for free for a year with a master's degree. So, you know, there are things that you have to do that may not give you the monetary reward initially. And since I was told that I could put anything extra, and, you know, using sport as the analogy, we're going to 3 minutes extra time, although I think it will be less. There are some challenges and hurdles that, you know, you just have to overcome. One, we have still very few sports psychologists in the Caribbean. There is also a stigma associated with what it means to see a psychologist, perception that it's expensive and only for elite athletes, and, you know, ignorance surrounding what we do, people wanting quick fixes, telling us to come and give a talk. That's not what we do. Perception that there was no sports psychologist years before, so why now? And you have some persons in the field that think that they can do what you do even without training, and the myth that you have to be a coach in order to be a sports psychologist, or you have to be an athlete, sorry, in order to be a sports psychologist. So yes, that was my short, quick presentation.
Okay, thank you so much. So you've covered basically everything. I wanted to ask you, what did you really want to become when you were in high school? Did you know that?
Yes, actually, so I went to Westwood High School and Manchester High. That's where I met Lanissa and Tracy that was here earlier. But at Westwood, we got a career test from our guidance counselor at the time, Miss Gloria Fraser. I actually remembered it like it was yesterday. And I scored high on the helping profession. And I also had a book at the time that could compare the salaries, but that book was from another country. So of course the figures would have been off, but I decided that my yearbook in high school at Westwood actually says a child psychologist. I am not a child psychologist, but I think I got pretty close. I'm still a psychologist, so I think I knew what I wanted to be. I mean, I do other things outside of being a sports psychologist, but psychology is like a staple ingredient for everything else that I do. So, yeah.
Okay, wow. Well, thank you for sharing that. And of course, you know, I have to ask you the question about the salary, right? You mentioned it, that when you looked at it, it was greater for other countries. But are you struggling as a sports psychologist, or are you living well? Can people,
Well,
right? So what is the range though? Because for many of us and many persons who are listening, they may not understand what is the range of salary that a sports and applied sports psychologist can earn.
okay, so the range really varies and will depend on whether or not you are practicing privately or you work for a company or an organization. So I work at a tertiary institution, and I am paid according to that salary scale. So is there money in it? Of course, but it's not going to be forthcoming, at least initially. Okay, I think I mentioned somewhere that I volunteered and worked for free with a master's degree for an entire year because of how relatively new the field was. You know, people wanting to have these services, not pay for them. And you're also doing a lot of marketing initially and having people understand the importance of it. So yes, you do make money eventually, you know, when you get signed with different teams and you are a part of a team management unit for international teams and so on. But initially, no. But I still would encourage persons just to go in something because of the money. Money is important, but I think once you employ the right skills, you will eventually make money.
Okay, well, thank you for that, because we had a question from an attendee saying, what is the salary like for a person with a BSc in psychology and job opportunities? So I know you're at the PhD level.
The BSc level, it's challenging to answer that question simply because a BSc in psychology does not make you a psychologist. A lot of people have BScs and they work, or a first degree, and they work in organizations and they are paid based on the entry level range. So you really would need to do further studies in psychology to be able to get a pay or a salary that will make you not suffer. However, it's not just about it's not just about working for somebody, because psychology is like, of course I'm gonna be biased, but it's like a staple ingredient. So it's really about how you can even partner with the creative enterprises. Initially, I used to write for eZine, and I think one of the presenters was here earlier, right? Do you get your feet so in different areas, you know? So psychology, because you have to deal with people all the time. It's just that I end up dealing with people mostly in a particular field and who have a particular interest, which happens to be sport. But a BSc in psychology or any degree means you are trainable and you have certain skill set, but it's always gonna be about your application, and that is where the money comes in.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for that. And I think you would have answered. Someone had a question about if a bachelor's in business administration is a good course to study in college, and what are some of the jobs they could receive. But I think based on what you've answered, that a degree just proves that you are able to learn, right? And you can literally go into any other field. And I'm sure earlier some of our other presenters mentioned that they didn't have any degree in the areas that they're practicing in. Their degrees were in other areas, but they applied themselves to get into that area. So thank you so much for sharing that. And are you open? Are you open to offer mentoring or even to taking persons on who are interested in learning more about sports psychology as interns in your office?
Sure, definitely. In fact, I have several mentees, and only the toughest and the fittest survive. I'm no joke when it comes on to mentoring, and therefore, let me just tell my potential mentees from this platform that we work in the sun. We don't work from home. This is part of the package. I tried as much as possible to give you a range of how we look from time to time. So we don't necessarily look like how I currently look at this stage. It's not all about heels. We move from heels to sneakers, to jackets, to coats, to sweats, and so on. So I am more than willing to help someone, to guide and to be a mentor to someone and to other persons who are willing to learn, who don't give up when things get tough, and who are ready and fit and able to withstand the sun, because I don't want you to complain about the sun. That means this is not for you. All right, so sure, by all means, and I do mentorship as well.
Okay, great, thank you. I have to ask you this question though. Is your career COVID proof?
Aha.
I don't see any sporting activities taking place, so is it?
You know, that's a very brilliant question, but I will say definitely it is COVID proof because it's just a matter of time before sports. In fact, some events have slowly, well, I know cricket has started. And since this COVID period, I have been an essential worker, not
Hmm.
necessarily only for athletes or sports personnel, but for persons who are in the front line, including healthcare professionals. You know, I've been part of the Jamaica Psychological Society that offers psychological and emotional support for frontline healthcare workers. So,
Okay.
hence, I said, you know, being a sports psychologist doesn't mean that you necessarily have to play a sport. You need to have knowledge of sport though, and be willing to learn because there are lots of rules to learn with every sport, and each sport is different. But you are first a psychologist that works in the area of sports, so that makes the profession itself COVID proof.
Okay, thank you so much, Dr. Rose Esperance.
Thank you so
We
much for
have,
having me.
we've learned a lot, and I'm sure you'll be hearing from some of our participants.
All right.
Great. All right, so I'm gonna turn back over to Matthew.
All right, thank you, Lanicia. And before I continue, for those of you who are tuning on the YouTube, we have just a little token for you. All right, you'll see some credit there, sponsored by our Jamaica Tertiary Education Commission. So that is there. And for those of you who are tuning in on Zoom, there's something for you there too. So look in your Zoom chat, and you will see some credit posted there. All right, so very interesting career information from our panelists. And our next professional, our next industry expert is somebody who, we all should be familiar with. I'm not sure if he's there with us, let me see. Chantal Jackson, are you there with us?
Hello.
Hey, Chantal. All right.
Hi, how
Before
are
I
you?
start, I'm great. But before I start, everybody, they may not know Chantal as Chantal. They may know Chantal as Kerry from Sprinter. And then, of course, I can't remember the name, her character's name, but I watched Joseph, and
Ah,
Chantal was in
yes.
Joseph. I was at the premiere.
Nice.
Now, welcome, Chantal. Thank you for joining us on the online career fair. How are you doing?
I am really hot. Uh, I live in Portmore, so listen, it's sunny here almost all
Yeah, man.
day, every day.
Sunshine
But
City.
I'm very grateful. It's some insane times, can I tell you? But I'm just very grateful to be here and to be a part of this online fair today.
All right, thank you for joining us. So, for those of you who didn't know, Chantal is a Prime Minister Youth Awardee. I mean, whole heap of big things. She's an ardent graduate, and of course, I just mentioned two of her major projects a while ago. And you realize now that Chantal is in one of the films that everybody has gotten to watch during this whole COVID quarantine period. So, Chantal, let me ask you a question off script. So, seeing that you're all over Netflix, you can say your boss now.
No, me no boss it.
Yeah, man, your boss man.
No, no boss it. But we are working. We're definitely working. Netflix. I mean, that was a major achievement, not just for me and everybody who was a part of Sprinter, but for the Jamaican film industry. It's a major accomplishment for us. It shows that yes, we are capable of doing good quality international work that is worthy of being on Netflix and all these other platforms. So I'm just excited to see what's going to come from it. Of course, a lot more people are interested in Jamaica, what Jamaica has to offer, Jamaican talent. They probably don't know that we have cameramen, we have sound engineers, we have grip people, we have persons for everything. And outside of that, the Jamaican landscape, it is so beautiful. Like shooting in Jamaica is, I'm sure, almost everybody's dream because it is so pretty and it makes the cinematographer work very easy, you know? So I'm just excited about all the possibilities that will come from it.
All right, so let's rewind a little bit now. Let's go back to the days when you were in your primary school drama club and all of these things. Why acting? Was that, I mean, everybody around is saying psychologist and doctor and lawyer and engineer and software engineer. And I mean, what was on your mind at that time?
Well, I wanted to be a veterinarian when I was growing up. I think, I mean, I say this all the time, but it's true. I think I was just very fascinated with the word veterinarian because it's a big word, you know.
Yeah, man, a lot of syllables,
you know, and it's a doctor. And my father has always been the person to say you need a career. And his idea of a career is doctor, lawyer, nurse, teacher. You understand? So that's what I wanted to be initially. But then one day he asked me to dissect a frog. And that was the end of that dream because I was not about to dissect a frog. So honestly, how I joined the drama club, I mean, apart from the fact that I went to the art in high school, of course. And you have to join, you know, co-curricular activity or do some kind of sporting event. And I really joined the drama club because I wanted a reason to not go home early. Like a good reason to stay back at school, you know? So that's how I joined the drama club. I didn't know I would have a passion for drama or the arts until, you know, after joining the drama club and entering JCDC. And the fact is, for most of us in the drama club, just the room was an escape because when you think of Arden, you know, people say it's an uptown school, but it's an uptown school with a variety of people from different backgrounds. People who come from different areas of society. And so we all have different experiences, and a lot of us needed an escape and a safe place to tell our truths or be able to express ourselves. And the drama room facilitated that for us. So that's how I joined initially. And then, you know, I pretty much fell in love with the craft. And right out of high school, I started working with Daly Harris doing commercial theater and just kept going from there.
So around this time, like, what were your friends seeing? Were they just happy to see you on TV, or knowing that, you know, would them have a friend around them who are gonna bust one day to the stars? Or I mean, were they discouraging and saying, you know, boy, why Chantal not take something more structured and, you know, something a little more traditional that can guarantee steady money?
No, the thing is, all of my friends are also in the arts. So, like, my friends now are my friends from high school.
Okay.
You know, so this is our passion, really and truly. The only person who really, you know, tried to change my view or trying to steer me into a different direction was my father. Because, I mean, when I was graduating from Arden, I was very determined to go to Edna Manley High School for the visual and performing arts. And my father said no, because in his opinion, acting is not a career, you know? And so he told me, no, you cannot go to Edna Manley. You need to go to nursing school or somewhere. And so I was so adamant that I didn't sign up for sixth form. And we fought about it for so long. I said, look here, I'm going to pay my school fee and I'm going to give me lunch money. So, you know, I have to do what he says. So by the time I got around to signing up for sixth form, it was too late. And so he's like, well, you need to go to nursing school because that is a career. And I started nursing school and I hated it. I could do the work. It was very easy for me, but I had no passion for it. And I just really did not want to be there. And I decided I stopped going to nursing school and I started to work. And my first production with Daly Harris, Thicker Than Water, which later came out on TV, that's the first time my father came and saw me in a production. He never came to any of my high school productions. I mean, he's there for all the academic stuff, but not for, you know, for the performances. And he came and saw me in the play for the first time. And I think he got a bit teary-eyed. And at the end of the production, he came to me and he said, okay, okay, you can do this acting thing, but you still have to get your degree. So it's like, all right, fine, we can do that. But at least now you're seeing there's no belief in me. And that's really what I needed from my parents. Support. And then you have to understand that they're from a different generation, and a lot of what they wanted to achieve, they didn't get to achieve it. And so they try to push that onto their children and try to live their dreams to their kids. And I had to be very determined that this is my life and my dream and my passion, and my choice, and it took a while, but eventually my dad came on board. I know he's so very proud of me, and he's coming to my events all outside of Kingston and stuff.
So what was that point? What was that point or that opportunity that presented itself that caused you to start to take it seriously? What was that breakout opportunity?
As I said, I mean, throughout high school, entering JCDC, let me tell you, JCDC, even though it's a school competition, it was very intense. Like, it's a battlefield going into every time, And so there's this, you always want to do your best. And I personally, and I know everyone in the drama room at the time, we had so much respect for the craft that we always put 100%, and which is why right out of high school, I knew that this is what I wanted to do. And I would definitely say my breakout into the industry was my first commercial play with Delia Harris, as I was mentioning, Thicker Than Water. And how that came about, my best friend, she was working with Delia at the time, front of house, which is, just tier tickets and, letting people and usher people in. And she got really ill and I needed to take her place. And then one day Auntie come to me and say, Prinny, because everybody calls me Prinny, short for Prinilla, tell you about that later.
All right.
She said, I'm going to need you to go on stage, because she knew my background from high school. And then it so happened that my drama teacher was also in the play. And she said, I'm going to need you to go on stage in about a week or two. And I said, what? And she gave me the script. She just gave me the script and said, I need you to prepare that in a week because you're going on stage. Because she needed an alternate for one of her cast members. And that's pretty much how I started. And so I did a lot of on-the-job training. And so I was working with Delia Harris with DMH Productions, did some work with Center Stage. I've done quite a few projects with a lot of the veterans or theater practitioners here in Jamaica, which I'm very grateful for. And then in 2016, I did my very first feature, which was Sprinter. Sprinter just coming out, but like Sprinter has been in the works from years ago. And I was in a play at the time, a Delia Harris production, and Storm had already casted the two leads, which was Dale and the brother, and they wanted a lead female. And he heard about me and he came and watched me in the play and then asked me to come in on auditions. I think I got like 2 auditions. And the week after, he said, hey, if you want the role, it's yours. I really want to work with you. And that's how it started. And, film for me was like very rapid after that, because I did that. And then later down in 2016, I shot a short film, Sugar, which was a part of Jack the Propeller. And then the following year, I shot Yardy. And then the following year, I shot Joseph. Yeah. So it's been very quick, very consistent. And, I'm just very grateful for the opportunities. And I give thanks for talent and opportunities and humility every day.
All right. So, I mean, I like how you took us through the start all the way to your most current projects. But for young people now, students that are at the Edna College who are looking to break out into the theater and into the performing arts, or maybe even into acting, what does it take? What key skills or attributes does it take to make it into this industry?
It takes a lot of discipline. And this might sound cliche, but it takes a lot of discipline. It takes a lot of patience, and this is something my drama teacher said to me right out of high school. There'll be times when you're working consistently, like back to back, you have like 4 hours of sleep, for a day. And then there'll be times when there's nothing, like no. So for example, since COVID, since March, a lot of us have been in the entertainment industry, have been out of work. A lot of my friends who've been like center stage shut down and everybody loves center stage plays. Most of us have been out of work. And so we're like, okay, what's going to happen now? So whatever was in the pipeline has either been postponed or canceled. There's a lot of uncertainty, sorry. And so you have times like this when there is nothing happening and you're ready to give up or say, listen, I'm gonna try something else. And that's when you really should try and push harder, like motivate yourself more. Because if this is your passion and this is really what you want to do, you can very easily decide to give up on it because it is not an everyday job. You don't get a salary at the end of every month. You get a salary when you do a job, when you get
a big check, you get a big couple $1 million check right after the movie.
Check. You get a nice check so you can live for 6 months. But discipline, professionalism, this is something I was taught in high school, but I experience it especially now. So the two of the producers for Sprinter, they took us to LA and we went to Will Smith's office and we're on a sound stage. And he stopped us in the middle of the sound stage and he said, there are a lot of people in Hollywood now that producers will choose not to work with because of their attitude. And they're like 100%, like excellent. And there are some persons who are maybe like 85%, 75%. And they'll choose to work with those persons because they're professional. They turn up for work on time. They no come and give no attitude. They're very easy to work with. And so you have to be mindful that it's an ensemble. It's not just you. You're working with a whole cast and crew and produce and all of that. And you have to bear in mind that it's never just about you, and it's also you also have a commitment to the story that you're telling. And so I just say discipline, patience, professionalism, and gratitude all the time.
Okay, so those are the ingredients to basically persevering in the field. So we have a question. Let me see if I can get this for you. All right. All right. So I think you answered that one already, but I'll just give it the opportunity to reiterate. How did you basically break into your acting career? And of course, but yeah, that's it. I think that's the main question. How did you break into acting?
Right.
And I know that you covered some of that, but if you can just reiterate some of the more specific points of how it happened.
Sure. So as I said, I started acting in high school. I entered the drama club from first form. Was in the drama club pretty much until fifth form, and then so during high school we entered different festivals, different competitions. We were in a lot of workshops, so we pretty much got training throughout high school. And then right out of high school, I started doing commercial theater, which is working on the big stage in front of an audience. And I started doing that maybe 2 years or a year out of high school with Daly Harris and DMH Productions. And then I've been consistently working with her company, but then apart from her company, I've worked with different theater companies in Jamaica, as well as did my first feature film in 2016, and then 2017 did the second.
All right.
So it started from high school.
All right. So it started from high school, but one, how hard was it to break in? And two, the obvious question, what is the salary like? I don't know if you want to touch on those things, but what is the salary like?
Oh, sure. Okay. So how difficult it was, I would say if you are not, I'd say you need to attach yourself to either a drama group or a community group. Get yourself, you should definitely see as much theater as possible. Try to associate yourself with these production houses, because that's the only way. I mean, you can't get casted if they don't know what you look like, if they don't know what you look like performing.
Okay.
I'd say get a reel together. If it is that you don't have any work out there, you can always, like, self-tapes are a big thing now. You have scripts online. You can go get a script, have somebody assist you, tape it, and put a reel together. And this is something that you can take and show to persons. This is what I can do. These are the ranges that I have. If you are already attached to a performing arts group, then it's much easier. If you're not, then I'd suggest doing that. Edna Manley College, definitely, you know, get certified, bachelors in different areas of the arts. Edna Manley has summer school as well, so you don't necessarily have to enroll into the school semester. You can just do summer programs and get a certificate, and you have that. In terms of salary, now what I've realized here is a lot of us, we don't know what we're worth, right? So a lot of the times we undersell ourselves. You can get, ideally, for like an ad on TV, like a 30-second ad, a commercial, you can get anywhere between 150,000 up. Ideally, if you're the lead talent. Featured talent, that's between maybe 30,000 up. And if you're an extra, that should be no less than 12,000 up. But if you're doing an international film now, that's when you get the big money. You know what I mean? And but it also depends on the budget. So films have different tiers. So if it's a low budget film, then, you know, not so much. You get like maybe 10,000 US, 6 to 10,000 US. If it's a medium to big budget film, then the sky is pretty much the limit. What I'd say is get representation, and get representation that is aware of the business and has knowledge, and especially has contacts with persons overseas. So that when you're negotiating your contract, you're not underselling yourself, because as I said, a lot of us don't know what we're worth. And what Jamaica needs now, especially in the entertainment industry, is something like a union that they have in the US. So they have something called SAG. And so all the entertainers, you have to sign to SAG, that's in the acting industry. And so you have to get paid a certain amount for whatever it is you're doing. So if it's a commercial and you're on for one day, for 4 hours of the day, this is what it is. All day, this is what it is. There's a fixed fee for everything. So people know, say, if you don't have this money, then don't call my phone. So what was happening? What was happening to us? Because, I mean, was we young, I was excited, I was just want to act. You know what I mean?
Hungry.
I was hungry, and it wasn't even so hungry like to eat, but hungry to be on stage and to perform, you know. And so whatever opportunity we got to perform, we just go. Sometimes we never get paid, you know. Them just provide food and transportation. Now, if this is something that's going to be your livelihood, then you cannot neglect the business aspect of show business. So I definitely say educate yourselves, get representation. Also, producers, especially international producers, they like to deal with management, you know, not just going directly to the talent. So it looks it's very formal. And you want it to seem like you know what it is that you're about. So nobody can just call and say, oh, well, they don't know anything. We can't just give them a little 2,000 when really and truly if you get 25.
And when you say representation, we're talking about an agent.
Get an agent or a manager for sure. Get an agent, attach yourself to an agency, get some kind of management, but you definitely need the information, especially in terms of what you're worth for what you're doing. Because in Jamaica especially, we really are undersold because we don't know what we're worth. And then when you find out what you're worth now, and then them know what you're worth, they're like, oh, okay, gotta be careful with this one.
Yeah.
You know? So definitely get management, definitely find an agent. Never neglect the business aspect of show business.
Definitely. All right, let me squeeze in one last question. I know we're over time, but let me squeeze in this one last question, Chantal. Do you recommend having a career in acting as a side job for someone who has the experience but wants to pursue something more traditional as well?
I mean, well, if you can, I can't say acting as a side hustle. I guess. I guess you could. I mean, if I was probably if I was interested in makeup, then makeup would be my side hustle. While I know a lot of makeup artists and that's their full-time jobs. If you have a passion for it and you can find a way to do it, then I'd say do it, because a lot of times our creativity is stifled, and that's like I said, for most of us, that's the way to escape our realities. And so if you can find a way to express yourselves and get paid, then sure, go ahead. If you can, and I mean, if it's not your primary, it's not your primary passion, then of course I'd say put most of your energy in whatever it is that you're really passionate about, because then you find that the work seems less. Even though you're working because you're passionate about it and you want continuous growth and development, then I'd say do that. And if you're passionate about something else on the side and you can squeeze it in, you can do that too.
All right, great. So thank you for joining us, Chantal. Chantal from Sprinter, Chantal from Joseph, Chantal from Thicker Than Water, Chantal from many more projects. And I hope, Chantal, like you mentioned, that you were home during COVID, that you're starting to write your own scripts, your own movie ideas, starting to build out your own things as well.
Well, let me say, I'm not really writing any scripts, but the good thing is that the things are slowly opening up. Things are slowly opening up, and so we are finding ways to create content that is, that can be done in COVID. So we're finding ways of minimizing the set, minimizing the cast and the crew, writing in a way that facilitates a smaller set. So we are opening up on it. So I'm pretty excited about that. Hopefully I won't have to start writing my own script.
All right. And Leah on YouTube wants to get some information on how to get an agent. What we're gonna do is that we're gonna have Leah on YouTube email us, and you can share the information there so we can make a connection there, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Great. Thank you for joining us, Chantal.
Thank you for having me.
All right, great. So that was Chantal Jackson, actress extraordinaire, her from a lot of projects and a lot of big things to come from her. All right. So moving into our next panelist. All right. So we have Denisha Fraser. Now, Denisha Fraser has a very interesting story and a very interesting title as well. Denisha, are you with us?
Yes, I am here. I am here.
Great. Welcome, Denisha. Where are you right now?
I am in Falmouth, Jamaica.
Falmouth, Trelawney.
Yes.
All the way from Trelawney. All right. So Denisha, I really don't want to. I want you to tell your own story. But for those of you who don't know, Denisha has a very interesting title. I mean, when it was shared with me, I was like, I don't hear this of a master teacher. She's a master teacher. She's an author, and she is a UN education ambassador or a UN ambassador for education. So, Denisha, talk to me. How did you get into this field of? Well, first of all, tell me what a master teacher is.
All right. So, hello everybody on Zoom and YouTube, and hi Matthew. Thank you for having me. A master teacher is someone who is designated as such because they are seen as a leader in their specialization. So you're designated master teacher because you're said to be master in the art and craft of teaching. And currently there are about 50 master teachers in the island of Jamaica, right? So it's after teaching for a number of years, there's a procedure to get to becoming a master teacher, and I could probably take you through that. So first, you would have to be a certified teacher for at least 5 years, and having been a certified teacher, you then would have to be able to prove that you are helping in the community. So you're community, you're contributing to community, yes, but you're also including innovation in how you deliver your lessons. Surely your students must be very successful, and you must also show that you are a leader, a teacher leader, really impacting colleagues within your setting and within the wider education system.
So let me pause right there. I like the point they mentioned. You need to ensure that the students are actually learning and benefiting from it. So you're not just in the class throwing out the knowledge and whether them catch it, or whether it drop it. But the students must be actively being engaged and learning.
Yes, because a major part two of the assessment is when you're being assessed, the persons who come, they interview your students to see what is teacher-student relationship. You know, is this a consistent thing, or are you just showing off for the team that's here today? And so that's very important, you know, the kind of rapport that you have, you know, if you are mentoring students, if you are adding value, because really and truly, you might not have the best students, but if you are able to prove time over time that you are adding value to these students and making them better than when you got them, then surely it's something that is considered. Yes.
So tell me something. So I'm looking at your profile and hearing what you say, what you said so far, and so I'm getting to understand now that more than likely you would have gone through classroom teaching.
Right.
You'd have gone.
I'm still in classroom teaching.
All right. So that's where I wanted. I have you where I wanted now.
Right.
So when you were younger,
yes.
And I'm sure I don't want to say you used to give trouble, but as most children used to give trouble and trouble teacher,
yes.
Why you'd want to put yourself back in that position where children can trouble you?
All right, so great, awesome question. So I went to Westwood High School, Ora et Labore, hats, and
hold on, pause. I'm recognizing a pattern here in the Lanisha. You know, Mandeville being represented, Trelawney being represented. You know, but continue.
All right, so I had a bevy of excellent teachers at Westwood. But particularly, I had one teacher that, well, there are many, but there's one particular teacher, my teacher of mathematics, Andrea Downer is her name. She was so good with me. Math was my favorite thing back in high school. And I remember just one thing she said to my mother that really changed my life. You know, I was doing very well at mathematics, but just average in everything else. And I remember one report day in grade 9, I think it was, she said to my mother, if Denisha is doing well in mathematics, she can be doing well in everything else. Like, what's happening? And she might not have known at the time, but that changed my life. And so coming out of that, I thought, even as I tried to figure out what I wanted to do, because it's never clear cut going through high school, was never clear cut for me. I knew it had to do with something. I thought it would have been numerics, and I thought it would have been something that was more focused on mathematics. But along the way, I picked up business and loved accounting and so on. But I chose teaching because I wanted to give back, even for a little while. I didn't know I would be in it so long, but I wanted to give back even for a little while what was imparted to me, and how a teacher is my hero. A teacher changed my life.
Okay, wow. All right. So I mean, I like how sincere that you sound. I like the sincerity in your voice. And I mean, coming in on our platform, I'm sure you're seeing the comments in Zoom. Persons are saying, you know, she's an excellent teacher. You know, person shouting out your alma mater. You know, you seem to have, you know, a good enough fan base. I'm hoping that some of these are, you know, former students or colleagues, you know, that can attest to your excellence in the classroom.
Yeah, I'm seeing best friend there, Nakita. Hi.
All right, and I'm seeing quite a few persons commenting on our YouTube live stream. But what does it take to, or what do you have to have as one of the main characteristics to be able to be in a classroom environment to impart knowledge and help in the growth of your students?
Passion, content, love. You have to be passionate about what you're doing to really get it across, especially if your students aren't intrinsically motivated. So you have to be very passionate about it. You have to have content. It's my philosophy that a teacher that's going to be very impactful and that is going to help your students to be good in what you are teaching them, you must have a very excellent grasp at what you're trying to deliver. And so that's very important. Yeah. And love,
You
I
know,
said love, I think. You have to love the children. You have to love them because they come with all sorts of things, you know, all sorts of ills. I mean, they all kinds of personalities, all kinds of experiences that would have made them, you know, who they are. And it's for you as an educator, if you really are going to impact them, you have to love them for who they are.
I feel the passion, and you know, I feel it. I sense it coming through in the conversation. Well, a lot of teachers will tell you. I mean, I taught for a little while, just a quick little while after university. You
Right.
know, I didn't have what it takes. I'm not afraid to say that. You know,
Okay.
classroom life was a little rough for me. But a lot
Right.
of teachers probably wouldn't recommend that their children go into education as well. I mean, so what was, aside from being an educator, or aside from knowing that you had a passion and, you know, a teacher had actually, you know, said something transformational and done things to actually guide you on your own path, what other passions were there? I mean, I'm seeing now that you're an author for 3 books.
Yeah.
You know, aside, I won't get to
And
the end.
COVID has helped me to be working on 2 more, so that's great.
2 more books.
Hats off to COVID.
You see, so you're actually using the opportunity provided by this pandemic to put your pen to paper. But
Yeah.
what other passions were there aside from teaching?
I just pretty much loved numerics, and as I said, I was I never said this, but I was writing from forever. Like I was doing like poetry from primary school. I was writing poems. I wrote poems all the way through high school. So I was writing, and I grew up in a family where predominantly persons were they probably were not, you know, quote unquote entrepreneurs in the truest sense. They were hustlers, but it taught me a lot of, you know, the work ethics that I later took on. So, you know, I probably liked business. I loved numerics for sure, and I had a little thing for writing. So.
Okay, so and I really want you to lay the foundation for this though. So this question here: when you think of being a teacher, you won't think of associating a certain kind of lifestyle, a luxurious lifestyle to teaching.
Right.
Can I associate that to that of a master teacher? So, you know, you have a teacher, and then the master teacher is the one that, you know, makes that great salary, you know, flying all over the world, being able to live very comfortably, you know.
You're funny. Well, it's a little bit up on the pay scale, away from the regular classroom teacher, because the master teacher is compensated like the vice principal. So it's a little better on the pay scale. What it does though is it provides an opportunity for you to network that you wouldn't have had otherwise. So for example, because I'm a master teacher, I'm a part of this group called the last one, the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information Master Class, which is a combination of master teachers and LASCA Teachers of the Year and veteran educators. And out of that, I was able to make connection with somebody in Dubai. And through that, I did some work with UNESCO. And out of that relationship, I am doing some work with United Nations. So it provides you with the opportunity for networking for sure. Yeah, so you might not initially be making tons of money. I was able to buy a new vehicle when I got this job, so that's something to talk about. Yeah, but definitely provides you with the platform, an avenue through which you can really do more and make more money. Yeah, definitely.
And what are some of the challenges or some of the obstacles you'll be able to identify to share with young educators, either at teachers colleges or other teacher training institutions, or even younger persons who may want to explore a path to being an educator? What are some of the obstacles that they may encounter in getting there? And what are some of the quick strategies in overcoming them?
All right. So firstly, I must say that mentorship is key. You said challenges, but let me tell you the key thing that will help you to get through in any area that you're trying to get through. The thing is, mentorship will cause you to cut some corners and cause you to really just cut out some of the mistakes that you would have made otherwise. So when I got into teaching initially, I had one mentor at my school. I teach at Holland High School, and that's where I've practiced my trade all my life. My career has been there at Holland. But I got there and I was assigned a mentor, and that was all good for a while. And then as I continued to grow and so on, I decided, I probably need to choose somebody else that can take me to another level. So I saw somebody that I could work with, and that was Dale Evans, who's now my principal. And he was master teacher. And let me tell you, that's what I said. So I'm saying that it kind of cuts out some of the things, because when you get into mentorship, when you're being mentored by somebody who is in a position that you could aspire towards, they know how to get there. They will teach you how to get there. They will be like a landmark, so you know what to do, how to gauge yourself. So many of the challenges that you'll have as a young educator, young professional, a young person trying to hone your craft, you'll be eliminated or reduced significantly if you give yourself over to the art of mentorship, because mentorship has made me 1,000 times more. I continue to, as I move on, probably like now my principal, he is my mentor is now principal. So he's gonna be a whole lot more caught up into school administration and so on. So I definitely would have to choose another mentor that would help me to do what I want to do now. So I mean, sometimes people are also stuck with thinking that, when you choose a mentor, you stay with that person forever. But as you grow, you recognize that your needs are going to change. You might even outgrow that kind of mentorship that is being offered. Not that's what happened to me, but you might just want to choose. Yeah. So there are challenges. You'll have young teachers coming in the classroom. The generation is different. Thank God I'm at Holland and I don't have to deal with some of the challenges I see some of my colleagues dealing with in other institutions. But depending on where you go, the challenges are going to be different. But if you are passionate, if one thing I've learned, I teach 14 to 18-year-olds, so grade 10s to 13. And I find that once they know you care about them, once they know you love them, once they know you have their interests at heart, it's easier to reach them, much easier to reach them. I don't face disrespect. There are many things I don't face in my classroom that other people face, because I teach the person, I teach the individual, and I stop to say, why weren't you here yesterday? I missed you, so that's it. So that's some of the things I would cut out some of the problems that you'll have. So mentorship for one, two, care about people, and go in there as a team player, go in there as caring for the individual child.
I don't know. I'm hearing all of this. Let me see, and I just automatically want to call it Miss Fraser. I want you to teach. Like Miss Fraser, not Denisha Fraser. I'm gonna call it. I'm sure that's what your students refer to you as.
Yeah, yes, but, and teach Ray. Yes.
Teach Ray. Okay.
Yeah, that's. Yes. I have a blog that I use to mentor educators on Facebook called Teach Ray. So no, that's my new name, Teach Ray. So yeah.
Teach Ray. So
yes.
And somebody just commented that they can attest to everything you're saying. They are proud students. I say you brought your fan base with you into this webinar.
Christy's here. Hi, Christy.
But for young educators, or for persons who want to get into the field and they would love some mentorship and guidance, how can they reach out to you?
Yeah, they can reach me on, if you're a teacher who wants to become a master teacher, you could reach me on Facebook at Teach Fray. That's Teach Fray. And I'm on Instagram as well as Teach Fray. And for students who need to be mentored, you can reach me on Instagram at Believe in You. Believe in You.
Okay, great. And let me just squeeze these two questions in. Okay, this is from, let's see who this is from, but is there any form of proficiency exam to determine whether or not you'll be qualified to be a master teacher?
Okay,
that's question great. One.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
And the second question is, it's basically the same. So yes, is there any kind of proficiency exam that you need to take in order to be qualified to be a master teacher?
So to be a master teacher, really and truly, you don't get an exam, but you have to present a portfolio for evaluation. And a portfolio is a professional portfolio which chronicles your journey, as well as have artifacts to prove that you are saying you're worth what you're worth. After that, if you pass that stage, then you're invited into Jamaica Teaching Council for an interview. And if you pass the interview, then you are assessed at your school. Like for a day, a team that would be comprised of your education officer, a specialist, and somebody or two, one or two persons from the Jamaica Teaching Council. What I'll say though, if you really want to become a master teacher, one of the things I would encourage you to do is to connect yourself with an existing master teacher. If you can't currently do that, you could reach me, as I said, on Facebook at Teach Fray, and I could try to get you connected with somebody in your area of specialization.
Okay, and let me squeeze this one. how are the duties, or what kind of distinction can be made between the duties of a master teacher and a normal teacher or
All
a
right,
regular
so
teacher?
good. So the master teacher would generally be very integrally involved in curriculum planning and implementation in the school, because you're now going to be drafted in the team that is working with ensuring that the students are being taught what needs to be taught, and that your teachers who are coming in, they are being mentored properly, so that they can also hone their craft and be better at what they're doing. Also, as a master teacher, you might be called upon by the Jamaica Teaching Council or the Ministry of Education, which, you know, one and the same kind of. But JTC is an entity of the Ministry of Education, so they could call upon you to do workshops around the island. Like there is some mentorship that's happening for teachers colleges, that, you know, master teachers are called to, you know, go and empower these teacher students, or these persons who are being trained to be teachers. So your job will include classroom duties, but it will also include some administrative side and some work as presenter. Yeah.
And a lot more time in air conditioning.
No, not necessarily. Not
Thank you
necessarily.
very much for sharing your knowledge and you know, your passion for being an educator with us, Teach Free.
Yes.
You know,
Thank you so much.
we encourage anyone who is interested in being an educator to reach out to her. She shared her platform is Teach Free on Facebook. We have a YouTube channel
and Instagram as well. Yes,
and IG. So
yes,
share them with
and
us.
YouTube. But for YouTube, I'm using it really more for instructional stuff. So reach out to me, Instagram, Facebook. Yes.
Okay, so thank you very much for joining us, and we will move now to our next panelist.
Thank
So
you
we're
for having
moving,
me so much.
welcome. We're moving from a master teacher now to somebody that is in tech. Now, before we continue, let's just drop some credit off, and we'll be issuing the Amazon gift cards shortly. But let's just drop some credit off. I'm going to repeat some numbers. Try and catch them as quickly as you can. So it is 647 959 889 3960. I repeat, it's 647 959 889 3960. All right. So we're going to be moving on now, and let's talk to Ricardo. Ricardo is in tech. Ricardo, are you there?
Yes, I am.
Greetings, Ricardo. How are you doing?
Not bad at all.
All right. Where are you right now, Ricardo?
So I must shout out the Mandeville people. I'm actually residing in Mandeville right now. It's a Mandeville takeover.
I am realizing a pattern here. This is an invasion.
An invasion.
I need to understand what is happening. Let me go back to my program, because I'm sure that one of our panelists spoke about, you know, diversity and inclusion. Christian spoke about diversity and inclusion. But welcome from cool Mandeville. Now, Ricardo, the first thing I saw was that you're in tech. Ricardo Thompson is the director of the J-TEC Digital Services company. Ricardo is also a yellow belt, but not that type of yellow belt. Okay, not that type of yellow belt. You know, he is certified Lean Six Sigma yellow belt, you know, and of course, he's a software engineer. Now, this is one of the fields that, of course, persons would say are COVID proof. So you're supposed to be cleaning up right now, Ricardo. Your company net worth is supposed to have tripled, or, you know, at least doubled, given how often persons have to be interacting with tech during this COVID time.
Yeah, I mean, there has been some increase, definitely. There's no question about that. I mean, prior to COVID, we all know that we're now entering this fifth industrial revolution period, where data and technology is going to be a huge asset for everybody moving forward. Right now, COVID had just kind of fast-paced certain things as it relates. I've seen things where people said, what was your digital transformation, or what was the main cause of your digital transformation? Was it CTO? Was it your programmers? No, the answer was COVID, right? So that's what has pushed a lot of companies to digitally transform. So, I mean, we're not doing too badly.
All right, so tell us about your business.
All right, so we pretty much provide modern digital solutions, turnkey solutions. So we focus on software development, social media management, and e-learning services. We initially started out by providing e-learning services, but while doing business, realized that a lot of persons have been asking us for software solutions. So we recently expanded into that services. We have had clients such as Honeybud, Enrock, Nepal, and so on and so forth. So we have a good amount of clients in the software space for e-learning. Did some work for the Center of Jamaica. We worked with Jane Foundation in the past and so forth. So yeah, that's a little bit about us, you know.
All right. So what was working in tech always your focus when you were younger?
So interestingly, and you know, so many persons alluded to it, if you realize there's a pattern, a lot of persons said they initially started out thinking that they wanted to do something else. For me, I actually was on the path towards doing medicine. I wanted to do medicine probably more than I wanted to do it. My mother wanted me to do it. So I was on that path for about a year, 2 years into university doing biological sciences towards pre-med degree. And then my mom got sick. And at that point, I decided that, you know, I needed to do a 4-year degree. I've always loved tech. I was really good at it, but that was not the direction that my mother wanted me to go in. So when she got sick, you know, I took the opportunity as well to say, hey, time to take life into my own hands. And at that point, I ventured into computer science, did a 4-year degree. And while doing it, entered many competitions, fell in love with it, the passion grew. And from there, as people say, the rest is history.
So at what point, or what was your big break in terms of getting into it officially? What was that opportunity that said that you know, you said to yourself, you know what, I can do this and I can actually make a living from this and be successful at this?
Yeah.
What was that opportunity?
So, you know, several opportunities came while I was in university. Well, I went to Northern Caribbean University, and for those who back in the day, you'd have known that Northern Caribbean University won the Microsoft Imagine Cup back in the day. I wasn't a part of the team that won, but my team won several smaller competitions. J-TEC competition, also won the BlackBerry competition. For those who remember BlackBerry, I actually won a BlackBerry torch. So if you remember the BlackBerry torch, the Slido, that was one of the prizes. That was a competition hosted by BlackBerry and Digicel. My team won. So at that point, we're saying, okay, even for myself, who led the team, I was looking at it and I was saying, you know what, I'm pretty good at this, and the results are shown. So, and then afterwards, I actually started doing some side projects. One of my first side projects, I made $120,000 building a website. You know, and that the money was good, especially when you're in university. 120 becomes it's like a lot of money. It's world.
A lot of money, that, yeah, man. All right. So what would you say? Because a lot, I'm sure a lot of our young people now, you know, have the skill set, you know, they have the interest, but even launching out, not only as somebody working in tech, but being an entrepreneur as well. You know, there are a lot of challenges getting into that field. Setting up a business, keeping the doors open, ensuring that you can sustain the business. You know, we're talking about, we can look at access to financing and all of those things. But what are some of the challenges that you experienced, and tell us how you actually got to overcome them by actually working in tech and also being a business owner, a business operator?
Right. And those are some critical points. I think even Tyrone touched on it earlier. We're talking about your skill, using your skill as capital. For us, even starting off, a lot of persons, and Dr. Che kind of alluded, Che Bowen actually alluded to it. If you're not a programmer, you might have to get a programmer. But if you're a programmer, you don't need to pay a programmer, you can build it yourself. So not having that initial startup capital, but having the requisite skills has allowed us to kind of build out certain solutions, even as it relates to competition. You know, you can build out certain things faster than the competitor. I think one of the most critical challenges that I faced, you know, even starting out as a developer or doing computer science, because to be absolutely real in the space is that, you know, when you go to school, they teach you how to do the skill, but they don't teach you how to make that skill into a business, right? So you don't know how to make money from it. So that's one of the challenges I had to kind of overcome throughout the process, understanding the business of technology, understanding how to make money from it. You know, interestingly, I spent 6 years working for the government of Jamaica. In my mind, I think one of the best technology companies in Jamaica, eGov Jamaica Limited. They do everything regarding technology for the government of Jamaica. And I started off as a programmer, transitioned into business development where I sold IT services. And by selling the IT services, I learned I was able to, as I think Erica mentioned earlier, enterprise software, selling enterprise software to the government of Jamaica, or just seeing how other vendors sell has given me a lot of knowledge and a lot of experience. And bear in mind, as she mentioned rightfully, make a lot more money selling the software, building the software, but that's another story. But yeah, understanding the business of tech, understanding how to make money, understanding, for example, like Facebook, where Mark Zuckerberg, when he started out, they didn't know how to make money from Facebook. After a while, they just turned it into ads, and ads now made a company $1 billion company. Same thing with Google. Google sells data, sells ads, So just understanding the business of IT. Let me just share a quick story. And this is, I'll see if I can, because it's somewhat confidential, but I'll see how much I can twist it so we can understand it. So I was a part of a particular interview process for a set of bidders. And this person was selling a software. They were selling the software for free, meaning there is no cost for the software. However, it was it's a track and trace system for seedlings. So what this means is that you can track a seedling from the seed stage all the way to the final product or end product, whether it goes into a product that's consumed by persons or otherwise. So this person was giving away the software for free, but you have to buy the tags for every seedling. So just imagine every seedling that you buy, you probably have to pay like 5 cents US, but nobody is growing one seedling. You're growing like hundreds of plants. So just imagine, and this is for several, probably thousands of farmers, right? So it's a free software, but they're making money from the tags that are only used by that system or can only be used by that system, right? So that's just speaking to understanding how to make money from technology.
And what other opportunities would you say are out there for especially young people who are in tech, looking for a break, looking for that major project that can get them their first real contract? What opportunities, what areas or what aspects or industries would you encourage them to explore? And I don't want this to erode your competitive advantage, But
yeah.
Just tell us what areas can youngsters in tech focus on for the next big opportunity.
So there are several things that you can look at. It's not everybody who's going to start off working for themselves. Some people may start off working for others. And if you want to work for others, that's completely fine. I actually have friends now who are working remotely for some big companies and people making from $700,000 to $1 million per month, million Jamaican dollars per month, right? Working remotely for some big companies. So if you want to go that route, you can go that route. Now, as it relates to opportunities within tech, there are several. Right now, education is changing, right? So there's huge opportunity in that. Most of us have been home, and a lot of us at the time, don't want to go to buy food, deliver services. That's definitely up. So one of the things I would say to people is that if you can build a software that you can sell as a service or use it as a tool for services, such as purchasing things online or doing booking or whatever it is, those are great opportunities. It's called software as a service. Or you can go the route where, I'm not sure for those who have been following the news, where Paymaster and Bill Express have been having this court battle, and the software developer who built the software just won the case and was supposed to get $200+ million in damages. That's a software that he sold, and there were some complications along the way. But just imagine you're able to get $200+ million, and I think after interest, it would be in excess of $600 million just from a software that you sold a few years ago.
All right, so we have a few questions, Ricardo.
Yeah.
All right, let's see how we can get those in. So if I didn't study computer sciences, for example, but I studied electronics or electrical engineering, can I be able to transition into software development?
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Actually, I'm not sure for those who are familiar with MIT, Massachusetts Institute of Technology. They don't actually have a core, well, they do have a core computer science, but it is a mixed disciplinary program, which is electrical engineer and computer science. So technically they go hand in hand. In tech is changing. In the US, it has already shifted where you don't necessarily need a degree to get a big post in tech. You just need to finish high school and be able to have the skills. In Jamaica, it's shifting somewhat because even for us, we're not necessarily looking for persons with degrees, but being able to rationalize and problem solve. So if you're already an electrical engineer, you already have that, that competency to be able to rationalize things and problem solve. And that's what you really need as a programmer or any other person in tech. And let's not think that you have to be a programmer in tech, because for example, where I used to work, eGov Jamaica, they have a plethora of different positions. So you have business development, you have business analysts, you have project managers, you have quality assurance, you have system administrators, you have network persons, and these are all people that's in tech, but it supports specific activities throughout a technology process.
All right, and what's the money like, Ricardo?
So
how the money stay?
All right, so it's interesting, and it's a good point. And since we're in Jamaica, let's use the Jamaican context, and I'll try to share some overseas context. So in Jamaica, I would say there's a cap. So for starters, when you leave university, anywhere between 1.2 million per year to, if you're a senior person in the space, you can get in excess, maybe up to 6 million. And that's probably where we cap off, right? At 6 million, you may be in management at that point, but that's kind of where it caps off. That's just realities. Now, if you are in the US market, easily you can shoot that. I mentioned a few colleagues of mine. There's one guy that comes to mind. I think you guys would have seen on profile, Joel Dean, who works on WordPress, and he's making a pretty penny as well. So the reality of it is, you can, if you work for a US company and living in Jamaica, easily you can be making more than some CEOs here.
All right, great. Zoe wanted to tell us what's your complete title?
So my complete title is Director of Innovation and Business Development. And that's just mixing innovation and business development, because I do parts of the software coding as well, and business development, which is really the sales and marketing strategic perspective. And that's kind of just tying with my MBA, because I also have an MBA, so it kind of just helps with that.
All right, let's talk now about employment opportunities. Now you're based in Mandeville.
Right.
All right. And I'm sure that there are a lot of young persons who would love to either intern or get a job or even be mentored in tech. How can they reach out to you?
Okay, so you can reach out to me at rthompson@neritech.co. So that's rthompson@neritech, that's NIRITECH.co, not .com, but .co. Or you can follow me on Instagram at Ricardo_Thompson_JM. So you can reach me there. Currently, we just took on some interns. They're supposed to start July, but we're also open for persons who may want to work remote. We have a set of developers that work remote with us. So there are persons, as everybody else has said, we're an open door as well. It's an opportunity for everybody. I love giving back, and I love to share my experience.
All right, thank you very much for sharing, Ricardo. I didn't get the time to get to the yellow belt part of it, but we'll say that for another discussion. Thank you for joining us, Ricardo, and we really appreciate you taking the time.
All right, Matthew, thanks a lot.
All right, take care. All right, everybody. So we got through the third round. We have one more round left. 3 more industry leaders. We're going back to tech. We're going through other careers. So we have one more round left. We thank you for staying with us so far. And we know that you've gotten a lot of information. And don't worry, if you weren't able to write anything down, just have your questions ready, send them to us, and we'll try to reply to them as quick as possible. If we can't do them during the session, just send us an email after and we'll reach out to you. All right, so I'm going to hand back over to Lanicia right now.
Okay, thank you so much, Matthew. My goodness, I'm learning so much about all of these different career fields. We're going into the last session, and the first person that we're going to be talking with is a seasoned entrepreneur who was very active during the COVID season. He actually partnered with several other CEOs to create some PPEs for Jamaica. And those PPEs included ventilators. I'm seeing where they also did some masks and different machinery, and I'm sure that he's going to be telling us all about that. But his company is called Blue Dot. It's an innovative market research agency, and he is the CEO, Lauren Peart. Are you with us, Lauren?
Yeah, man, I'm here. How you doing?
Okay, I'm doing great. How are you doing? Welcome.
I'm good, thanks.
All right, so tell us about your career journey. So is it fair to call you a techie? Like entrepreneur?
You could call me that. Yeah.
Okay, and I noticed that your company also focuses on market research and business analyst, right? How did you get into this field? Tell us about your journey.
Right. So the company is Blue Dot, and we are a market research and data analytics agency. We started about in October. We'll turn 6, and since then we've managed to do a lot of very important jobs, and we have a lot of large clients in Jamaica and across the Caribbean now because of our focus on how we go about collecting the data and how we go about analyzing data. How I got started in it, I unlike most people here, I never went to university. I left high school. I went to the best all-boys institution in the Western Hemisphere, and I left.
What's the name of that institution?
You guys should already know it's Monroe. I went to Monroe.
Oh, thanks, Matthew. Maybe.
And right, so I went to Monroe, and I literally left from Monroe and started working because of financial constraints. So I worked for an IT company for 13 years, and then I realized that or I thought at the time that if I worked half as hard for myself, half as hard as I did for my boss at the time and do for myself, that I must make it. But little did I know that entrepreneurship is extremely hard, and I'm working a million times harder now than I did when I was in a 9-to-5, and almost every week I'm tempted to ask my boss back for my job. So my ex-boss, that is. But yeah, so I got started in it because I saw an opportunity to marry tech with market research. At the time, our competitors were still are using pen and paper to collect data. So they literally go with clipboards to collect information. We started out using tablets. We're the first company that offered that, and we've evolved and pivoted and iterated so many times since then that we're fully leveraged in terms of our competitive advantage.
Okay, great. And how did you know that you have these tech skills, or did you realize when you were in high school that you had these tech skills as well as these market research skills? And what did you actually want to become while you were in high school?
I still don't know what I want to become. I didn't know in high school, and I don't know now. I like what we do in the research space. I'm a non-traditional person. So if you were to ask me, I'm not pro university and getting degrees or any of that. Especially now in 2020, I believe that you can do specialized courses. There's so many courses on Udemy, Coursera, etc. online that you can get specialized certifications in what you want to do. Like, why do you need to go and learn about calculus? You'll never use it. So I believe if you want to do programming, you go and get a programming certificate and you learn programming and learn Java or C++ or whatever it is that you want to do, and you develop the skills, your skill sets through that.
Okay, great. And that is what you did.
Yes and no. I left high school and I had to get a job. And I got a job working at an IT company, and I started there. And then when it was time to leave, I left. But I moved up in the company. I mean, I worked really hard and I moved up in the company. And that's what my journey has been in a nutshell.
Okay, great, great. And is it rewarding? Why have you stuck to this? I know you've mentioned that, the challenges, it is challenging. I'm an entrepreneur myself, and I know that it can be challenging, but why have you stuck to it?
Several things. So I've become somewhat of an activist, right? And I'm very pro entrepreneurship and self-reliance. But as it relates to Blue Dot and what we do, data is the future, and we need to, as a country, we need to stop our reliance on or the culture that we have of making decisions with our gut and instincts. And it was an uphill battle initially when we started to get companies to understand the value of data and how important it is to be making data-driven decisions, and not just thinking, all right, I feel like this product going to well, so let me go and launch it. That's completely not how to go about doing it. So the mission at Blue Dot, and to answer your question, is to get Jamaica and we have clients in the wider Caribbean to understand the value of data and research and making decisions with insights. And we've made some headway with that so far.
Okay, great. And would you say that there are enough persons in your industry? If there's an attendee listening or watching this live who wants to go into your field, what advice would you give to that person? And maybe even if the person wants to come and work with you, like what areas are available?
So, I mean, it's cliche now, but data is the new oil. Like most people would have heard about big data, etc. Every organization today collects data in some way, shape, or form. It could be point of sale data, and I can go into some examples. So, we analyzed some data for a large supermarket chain the other day, late last year, and the point of sale data is every transaction you do at the cashier. It stores that data, and then you can analyze that data to get insights from it. And one of the cool things that we realized was that even though what they call the average weight of purchase, which is essentially the value of the cart, decreased, the frequency of visits to the supermarket by individuals increased. So in other words, people were buying less, but they were shopping more frequently. And that's a you can think of it as a good problem to have, but if they didn't analyze the data, we wouldn't have figured out why. And it seems obvious now, but the reason is because of the plastic bag man. So if you can imagine, people are going into the supermarket, you don't have your bag, so you're just picking up what you need in your hands. So you're picking up less items, right? But you're going back more frequently because you didn't get everything that you wanted. And as a company, what we do at Blue Dot is we then help the supermarket chain with the strategy, like how do you capitalize on this information? Because it's all about the insights that you get. So we provide the insights to inform the decision-making process. So now that you know that people are buying more frequently, how do you capitalize on that? And that's one example of what we do with data.
Okay, and you did this during COVID?
No, this was before COVID. It's even better now because for the supermarkets. So supermarkets are the ones that have won in this whole COVID situation since last year up until now, because of the plastic ban. They added another SKU, so they started selling bags. So they added another revenue stream. And because people more going to the supermarket more frequently, they were able to capitalize on those impulse buys and those impulse purchases. And it's how you target the customer and the consumer. So in our world, in how you market, in our world, you have customers and consumers that are separate. So an example would be if you're buying Red Stripe for your boyfriend, you are the customer, but he's a consumer.
Right.
And how you market to those two individuals, you have to understand what those profiles are and market to them separately. So how we would market, or the insights that we would gather to market to you purchasing the Red Stripe is different from how we would market to the actual consumer. So it's what we do is very interesting. We have at Blue Dot, we're lucky to be behind a lot of the products that you see on the shelves. We test them for our clients. We test a lot of the campaigns. We're in this space that is called neuroscience, where we measure, we can tell, we do eye tracking, so I can tell where people are looking at in a supermarket aisle, what they're seeing on products, how they feel about it physiologically. So when we're doing taste testing, Grace Kennedy, one of our clients, whenever they're testing new products, we test the actual variations of the formulations, and we measure how the body physiologically reacts. So we have devices that are connected to, that measure heart rate, pulse, and brain activity, so we know how your body reacts to whatever it is that you're tasting. So, I guess in summary, it is a more scientific approach to decision making.
Right. So 2 questions coming from that. The reason why I asked you if you did this in COVID, because I wanted to know if your business is COVID proof. So are your clients using your services more because of COVID and maybe the changes in trend, the shopping trend of persons?
Good question. So like most businesses, we did take a hit, but we luckily we had started our digital transformation a year ago. So what we have is we have a platform called Blue Dot Communal, and anyone here, please go and sign up, where we pay anybody in Jamaica for their opinion. So because we can't go out into the field to collect the data, we have this platform where we have almost 10,000 Jamaicans on, that when you do a survey, you get on average $400 to complete the survey. And we pay out, so far we've paid out probably $4 million in payments to Jamaicans for doing surveys online. So that has allowed us to still operate within COVID, because we don't have to go out into the field.
Right.
We have a nationally representative panel, meaning any survey that we do, it is representative of the entire Jamaican population, as if we actually went out into every little community to collect the data.
Okay, that's amazing. So I'm very aware of, surveys are online, but a lot of these surveys are usually based overseas in the US, etc. So you are saying that this is available in Jamaica.
Yeah, man.
Jamaicans can go and do this and earn.
Yes.
Awesome. What would you say, Lauren, are the skills that persons need to enter a field such as yours?
Good question. So if you want, data scientists, being a data scientist, I think is in terms of highest paid jobs in the world, is number 3 under like neurologists or neurosurgeons, etc. So you need to be a data scientist, that is, you need a background in math and something in statistics, or some type of programming helps as well. But you don't have to be a data scientist. You can just be a cruncher. You can be a data analyst, a data cruncher, an analyst, a research analyst. All of those require, I'm not going to say degrees, but knowledge of market research principles and statistics and data analytics.
Okay. And in terms of personality-wise, are there any personality traits that they need to survive this type of business?
So because you're looking at data and like every time we submit a report, the company that we submit the report to makes multi-million-dollar decisions based on the data that we provide. So we have to be very thorough and accurate with the data that we provide. So, you know, our employees have to be have to pay a lot of attention to detail and very focused.
Okay, awesome. All right, so I have a question here. So someone is asking if you are willing to teach or mentor someone in navigating through the business of technology. Are you open to doing that? Maybe having someone as an intern in your company or just coaching and mentoring someone?
For sure, we've always had interns. We just had an intern finish his tenure with us just the other day. And I'm open to mentorship. I believe in mentorship. I have mentors myself, so sure.
Okay, great. And give us an idea of what the earnings are like for whether a CEO as yourself or someone in that industry. You can give us a range or just give us an idea.
My highest paid employee, and it's not me, takes home $800,000 a month.
Oh wow. Okay. And what is the, well, I don't know if you want to share that, but what kind of job does this person do? What is the title of this person?
The data scientist. I have to pay him more than I pay myself. So he's a data scientist, yeah.
Okay, okay, great. So for persons who are listening, if you want to go into this field, right, once you're passionate about it, you have the characteristics, then it's not only worth your while in terms of your passion, but it also can be worth your while in terms of monetary rewards.
Data is the new oil. It is the new oil. Every organization has to it's going to get to the stage where they can't go around not analyzing your data. So.
Great, great. Thank you so much, Lauren. Where can people find you? Where can they find out more information about Blue Dot?
So they can follow us we're on all social media platforms. It's at Blue Dot Insights, INSIGHTS, Blue Dot BLUDET. My personal handles are at Manishwater on Twitter and Instagram. That's Manishwater the soup. And yeah, send us a DM. Or I'll give you guys my email address and you can send it out and then, you know, you can email me. But I would encourage anybody to get into data. It is an exciting field, and we're right at that curve now in Jamaica where companies are realizing the importance of it.
Okay, great. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you for sharing your career journey, and thank you for sharing what you do in your company with us, Lauren.
Thank you.
Right, have a good one. We're going to go into our next panelist. Now, this young lady has been in her career field for over 10 years. She's in a career where it is not necessarily a non-traditional career, but many persons do not know about it or know how to get in the field. And it's a career in the legal profession. And many persons want to, when they hear about the legal profession, you immediately think of, oh, becoming a lawyer. But there are actually many paralegals, and the paralegals do or assist the lawyers with a lot of the functions and work that they have to do. And I won't even say anymore. I'm going to allow her to tell us exactly what she does as a paralegal, how she got into this industry, and even starting her own paralegal services. So welcome, Jodianne. Tell us.
Hi, Lanisha. How are you?
I'm doing great, thanks. How are you?
I'm giving thanks. Thank you so much for having me here. As a paralegal, I would term myself as a legal professional. We're like the nurses in the legal field. You have doctors and nurses. So we are like the nurses. We're actually the ones who do the administrative of it, and also the legal considered the eyes and ears of the lawyer. So we are responsible for case management. We're responsible for communicating with the clients to ensure that they are always aware of what's happening with their matter. We're the first face the person that comes into a law firm would encounter. We're a little bit higher than a receptionist or a secretary because our education actually extends us to do researches, compile bundles, put together case documents for the attorneys.
Okay, and how did you get into this field? Is this what you wanted to do when you were in high school?
All right, so initially I wanted to become a lawyer, but at that time, at point in time, I just told myself I had to start somewhere. So I was a receptionist first, and then I upgraded to a secretary, then to an administrative assistant. But law was always where my heart was. And so the stepping stone I thought when I was entering the field that, all right, so I am going to use the paralegal studies as a stepping stone to become a lawyer. But when I actually started to do it, I started to love it because we are actually the person, we are actually aware of a lot of stuff in the field. We do the field work. And so you get to meet people, you get to share your understanding of the law, your perspective of the law, and you get to share it at the level that they can relate to. You actually also get to have hands-on with the legal processes that happen. So you give the attorneys more time to focus on the intricate matters of law, but then you are also responsible for knowing the basics or knowing some of these intricacies as well, so you can help your attorney along the way. No, as a paralegal, there are things that you can do without the instructions of an attorney, but they are limited because by rights, we really should operate under the instructions of an attorney at law. But based on how the world is going, digital-wise, and in terms of legal documents, there are some documents that we can handle that doesn't require an attorney, and you will find that a lot of persons hire attorney paralegals to do the simple task and then take the much more complicated task to the attorneys because it saves them money.
Okay, great. And do you need a specific certification in order to become a paralegal?
Oh yes, you do. So there are many courses being offered now in paralegal studies, and there are different levels. You have the certification level, you have the diploma level, and you have also the associate level in paralegal studies. So it just depends on where you want to go in the paralegal field. A lot of paralegals tend to just do the diploma or the associate and then move on to the LMD. You have some persons, depending on what their career choice is, they just want to have a legal background and they just do the certification courses. So I personally went to Paralegal Institute of Jamaica. I considered them a very good school in terms of the knowledge they impart and how they practically share the processes with you. And just the entire experience there, it had broadened my horizon and gave me a stepping stone into the legal realm. And as time went by, I was able to implement those things that I learned there.
Okay, great. As a paralegal, you can either work for a lawyer or you can set up your own business and work for several lawyers, work independently. Is that right, Jada?
So yes, you actually touched a very valid point there. You can actually set up business here in Jamaica. As I have a registered service, it's right here in Jamaica with the company's office. And all you need is actually to register your business and then provide your certification, and you're able to cater to several attorneys if they allow. If but now because of COVID-19, you'll find that a lot of attorneys are receptive to the whole virtual assistance from a paralegal. But what we also offer here is that attorneys can contact us if they want an paralegal for a contracted period. So for example, they just want somebody to fill in their office to get off some backlogs for a day or two. I have paralegals who will be able to assist them in doing that. So it's one of its first here in Jamaica that I founded. I got some of my tips from Yannick Page. We actually had a consultation and she said, you know, why not offer services to attorneys for contracted periods when they want paralegals in office? And so they would contact you, you provide them with a paralegal or you provide yourself and as a business model. And so I took the advice and I ran with it, and it has been going good so far.
Okay, that's awesome, Jody. So not only are you a professional in the legal field, you've combined it with entrepreneurship. So now you're basically outsourcing other paralegals and earning from that to lawyers.
All right, so being a paralegal is tedious. I should tell anyone that you have to have good time management, and it's not an easy role, but it's a fulfilling role. You know, it's a stepping stone, and it's a great business opportunity if you know how to apply yourself, know which waters you can charter and which waters not to charter. Because there in the legal world, there is a vast array of work out there. I mean, tons of work, and you find that in these times people are looking to save, and so they look to paralegals because we actually know a lot of the groundwork to assist them, and it saves them time. But there are some things that we cannot or we should not touch in our capacity. And for me, I have attorneys who I will recommend when matters are not are beyond my scope. So I tend to investigate first, have a feel of my clients to know exactly what it is they want, and then I'm able to go ahead and offer them services from within JNS or refer them to an attorney at law.
Okay, great. So tell us, Jodian, what are the earnings like in a paralegal, for a paralegal?
All right, so as a junior paralegal, no, in the field, you can be earning anywhere between, it depends on the law firm, I should tell you. You have some lawyers who will pay well and some lawyers who won't. So if you want to work as a regular law office paralegal, then you can be looking at a startup for the range of $60,000 to $80,000. Intermediate paralegals working with a law firm on a monthly basis, you can look anywhere between 80 to 110,000, and then for senior paralegals, they tend to you have persons who actually have their LLC and they're still considered as paralegals because they have not trained with the Norman Mandela School, and you can find persons within that bracket getting anywhere between $180,000 to $200,000, right, depending on their experience.
Okay,
however, I should tell you, owning your own business gives you more than that. It's just that there are times when there's a inflow and there are times when there's not so much significant inflow because the legal realm goes off timing, and so you have to put in place a system that allows you to structure your cash flow so you're always constantly operating even in these times. But I should tell you, in times of crisis, that's where the legal realm actually gives you the opportunity to expand and grow, because a lot of persons are going to encounter legal issues and they're going to need legal advice, as we can see from this whole global
Okay, so are you
pandemic.
saying then that your business has increased in terms of the amount of business that you're doing since COVID?
Definitely. You find that a lot of persons are now engaging, because you have employers who are dismissing employees without following the proper protocols, and they are now reaching out. I need legal services. Can you assist me? Can you direct me? You have persons who have investigative queries, and they come to you and ask you to conduct a search, or
There have been a lot
yes,
of
you find
divorces.
that.
There have been a lot of divorces worldwide because of COVID. So
Well, yes, you have a lot of divorces as well. It's not something I like to do, but it's a part of my job. So yes, you have a lot of divorces. So a lot of procedures have happened just in this whole crisis. A lot of persons are looking to see what legal remedies can they take in these times.
okay, excellent. Thank you so
And a
much.
lot of attorneys are actually more receptive of virtual services. So young paralegals coming up, you can actually work remotely, because lawyers are now looking to save and to integrate in the whole virtual process. And so I have learned how to integrate technology with my business. So I've learned the software to use, the invoicing tools to use, all the tools that's necessary to integrate tools and to integrate technology and law.
Amazing.
And you find that that way you multiply the opportunities.
Okay, great, great. Thank you so much, Jodianne. Are you willing to take anybody under your wing to your wings to mentor or to just give advice if there's anyone here who is interested in going into the legal profession, especially in the field of becoming a paralegal?
Okay, so going into the legal profession, you have to have keen eyes. You have to be able to apply yourself. You have to love the law, because I can tell anyone going into the legal field that there is so much in the law that you never know everything. And that's why you have attorneys or paralegals who specialize just like myself. So if you are considering entering into the legal field, I would say start to get to know the basics, start to get to know the field work. So when you're in the field, you're well-rounded and it makes you more marketable.
Great.
So that
So
would
would
be my
you,
advice.
okay, awesome. Thank you. Are you willing to, where can people find you? And what if someone has a question or would want to be mentored by you? Can they contact you privately? Can we share your information with them?
Alright, so I'm sure that you guys can see that I was working.
Right, that's
So
fine. But
I can be found at Shop 2 Caledonia Mall in Mandeville. I am available upon appointments. So I have a Facebook page, an Instagram page. I'm also developing a website. I actually bought a domain. So once anyone searches for JNS Paralegal Services on Google, they'll be able to find contact information, location, all the information is there. We are on Google, so we are able to be located.
okay, awesome. All right, thank you so much, Jodianne. You've shared a wealth of knowledge with us, and we really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you as well. Enjoy the rest of your day now, everyone. Take care.
Thank you. All right, so we're winding down. I just want to remind you that we have a big giveaway coming up at the end of the last interview that we're going into right now. We're going to be giving away Amazon gift cards. So please don't leave if you want to be that lucky winner of one of our Amazon gift certificates or gift cards. Right now, we're going to be wrapping up by speaking to a health professional, someone who has been in this industry for what, almost or over 40 years. She's worked not only in Jamaica, but in the UK, as she is Scottish or British by birth. You can correct me, Jermaine. But she has served companies such as the NHS in the UK. She has created her own business and program based on what she has been doing and her level of expertise. Welcome, Jermaine. How are you doing?
Hi there. I'm good, thank you. Well, hello to everybody. It's been an amazing afternoon. I've been listening to so many wonderful people.
Thank you so much. So thank you for joining us. So can you tell us, Jermaine, how did you get into the health and wellness industry? How did it start for you?
Yeah, it's a little bit convoluted. It was interesting talking to some of your previous teachers. You know, my parents are both teachers, and I was definitely not wanting to be a teacher. So I went in, and my first degree was a non-teaching PE degree. So I was really sporty as a young person. I represented my country when I was very young through netball. I represented my county through basketball and netball and badminton and high jump. So I was an all-round athlete, and I really wanted to be a PE teacher, but I didn't want to be a teacher. So I did a non-teaching PE degree, and it was really interesting because I can remember from a very small child always wanting to dance, but my dad is like half an inch a giant. He's 6'5.5", and my mum is sort of tall. So I was always the long, lanky one. Always had to be the male when you had to be doing dance. So for me, dance wasn't really an option. I was always going to be too tall. So I wanted to be a dancer. So when I went to my first college, my first degree, I had the opportunity to study dance, which was amazing. But what it led to was that you did all the techniques, all the exercise techniques for dancing are the same that you would use in the exercise field for recreation, for dance exercise. And it was at the time when aerobics was taken off. In the UK, we had this woman called the Green Goddess who used to wake everybody up in the morning. And I know you have a similar thing on TV now, you know, where you sort of joining in with them on the TV. So that was the sort of era that I was born into. So I did a first non-teaching PE degree, took on board some management of recreation, indoor and outdoor, upland and lowland, that sort of thing. But the main thing for me was the dance. I did a year of dance and dance exercise. So I sort of dropped out of college early and started my own company. It was called Jump, Jermaine's Unique Mobility Program. And I basically did dance exercise for like the first 10 years. I went to Portugal, I lived abroad and did dance exercise. So wherever I went, I was able to start up a small dance exercise class, which wherever I went, it paid my rent, and it was great because I was keeping fit and loved what I did. I think things then slightly shifted because you get into your 20s. I had a baby, I had my first child when I was nearly 30, and you suddenly begin to realize that, exercise is great when you're in your teens and 20s, but then you have to start taking on other responsibilities, and I needed to do something slightly different. So I started looking at community development as an aspect of what I wanted to do, particularly youth work. So youth and community work was a particular diploma. So that was my next qualification, was as a youth worker. That was really interesting, worked with young people in the 70s and 80s in the UK, where there was an overrepresentation of young Black unemployed, particularly males and females. And that was my community. So I was sort of employed because I was Black, and I was one of the first employed in that area as a Black woman working with young people. I was one of the first youth workers, for example, to have a role and a function in a shopping mall, because that's where everybody hung out, so that was where I went. So that was really interesting. And then I moved into a local authority, working for the local authority, and it was seen as a community development project, but the project was because they had an overrepresentation of aging and elderly tenants in the local authority. So you had an aging population who were languishing because there wasn't anything for them to do. So I ran, it's called 50 Plus Key to Health. And that project really was the beginning of the health promotion, where instead of being seen as the one who was the active one jumping around in front of everyone, I began to look more strategically at how I could involve, train, pass on responsibility. And I built a network at the time with the Irish community, the Pakistan community, the Indian community, the ordinary community. And we ran sessions every week, exercise to music, and then social activities. And that project was supposed to be part-time, and it sort of went full-time. I even bought a double-decker bus to take round and drive into communities with all the resources and all the equipment on it. And it was a very successful project. And from there, I was sort of headhunted to go to another area, and shifted from local authority into health. And the reason that that job came up was because there was an overrepresentation of, again, ethnic minorities in a particular area. And I was asked to work with them. So my colour has been something that has been facilitating the work that I did. And it sort of shifted me from local authority and into health. I work with a particular issue there called consanguinity, which is about first cousin marriages and genetic recessives, and that was really interesting. My job was to reduce down the cost, the burden to the local authorities and the health boards of the incidence of genetic recessives. And that again was very successful. And then I moved to Scotland, and I had the same job, but doing everything in a geographical area. So from being a specialist advisor with ethnic minorities, I went to being generic in a geographic. So the journey into health promotion specialism has been very convoluted. And then when I got to that position where I was called a health promotion specialist and I was based in health board, I had to do a master's. So the continual professional development has always been there. When you're employed in that field, either working for a local authority or a health board, every year you have to take major steps to improve yourself. And so I ended up doing a master's, and I did a year in a psychology degree. So all of these things feed into what I do now. So very convoluted, taking up opportunities, following my passion, you know, including where I lived and how I worked.
Okay, awesome. And you combined your skills or expertise as a health professional with entrepreneurship by starting your own thing. So I know you've authored your own workbook based on the experiences that you've had, and now you basically work as a consultant offering what you do to companies or individuals, right?
Yeah. The Sally Vida Human MOT was a sort of culmination of 30 years of work. So the Human MOT is, it's a bit like your fitness test here in Jamaica. So you have the car assessed for roadworthiness. And what I do is I assess the human being for life worthiness. And it's not really an assessment that you pass or fail like you would with a fitness test. It's more of little nudges and checks to make sure that you are following your passion. And many of your speakers today have talked about that, about, you know, being passionate about the work. It's easier when you're passionate about something, it flows through you, and you know your days aren't hard because you're doing what you're meant to be doing. And so I'd been working in the NHS, the National Health Service, and felt it was incongruous with how I wanted to be working, because they didn't really seem to have health at the core of their business. It's more illness is the core of their business. So I sort of shifted it and wrote this package, which is more about health and well-being. At the same time, in the UK, there were curriculum modules, you know, for young people in school. There are curriculum modules for them to study health and well-being. I don't know if you have the same opportunities here, if the syllabus is that broad here, but certainly in the UK, that was the syllabus that I was writing it for. So I was going to take this booklet to all the schools. And then I ended up coming to Jamaica, Mandeville, by the way, for the rest of you that are from Mandeville. I was in Mandeville for the first years. I'm in Mobay now. Yeah.
Great, great, great. And can you remember when you were in high school, did you know what you wanted to become? I mean, I know you said you wanted to go into PE, be a PE teacher without being a teacher, right? So that was it. That's what you wanted to do.
It had to be something physically active. And actually the college course that I chose, because I was already a young athlete, I'd already excelled in basketball, netball, badminton, swimming, you know, I went for outdoor pursuits. So it was the Outdoor Pursuits College in Yorkshire. So I did things like climbing, canoeing, sailing, orienteering, mountain rescue.
And you did all of this in your high school?
No, I did that in my first degree.
Oh,
that was the first degree, non-teaching. Yeah, the non-teaching PE degree. And then in that degree, you also had the chance to take all the sporting qualifications. So I can coach, for example, tennis, squash, all that hand coordination sports. You learn the rules and things of so many sports. So it had to be something to do with being physically active.
Right. So that's pretty interesting because earlier we heard from the applied sports psychologist. So it's another career in sports and also in psychology. But right now we're hearing that if you're just a very active person and you like physical activity, that I'm not sure if this is offered. I'm not aware that this is offered in Jamaica, but in the UK, you can actually go to a university and pursue and actively engage in these types of sports if you really want to go into this field. Awesome. What would you say?
Absolutely.
What would
absolutely.
What are some of the tips that you would give to persons who are interested in merging somebody who may consider themselves a quite active individual, somebody who really likes to engage in maybe outdoor activities or physical activities? If you are not the person who maybe is a Usain Bolt, the fastest runner, but you still want to go into the sports industry, what are some of the characteristics or qualifications that you, Jermaine, would advise persons to look out for to get into this field?
I think it really depends on people's passions. There are so many different aspects to being a sports person. Your sports psychologist, that's one, that's getting the mental side right. The actual physiology, anatomy, knowing how the body is made up. So you could do nutrition and sports nutrition. You could do massage and recovery. There are a whole range of different aspects and opportunities if sport and being in and around athletes is what you would like to do. I think the core things are, physiology and anatomy, obviously knowing the body. And like I said, depending on your passion. I mean, if you want to be a dancer, then obviously you're going to have to do some dance classes, learn about your cultural dance, but, globally, there are waves of things. So at the moment, the big thing out there is Zumba. I mean, they were even doing Zumba cruises, although obviously COVID is stop on that. But I'm Zumba qualified. So, for me in the UK, it was very easy because all of these things come up and you just take the next qualification. Here in Jamaica, I know it's not quite so easy, but with the influence of COVID, there are so many more courses that are available online. So you can learn about them, you can gain the skills to do whatever it is that you want to do. All your speakers have talked about, passion and focus. So if you don't know what you want to do and you're a young person, then think about how your day and your weeks are in school and what things get you up in the morning, get you packed and get you ready and get you to school on time. Which teachers inspire you? Which subjects inspire you? And it could be something really, really weird and, like being a historian and loving the history. That doesn't matter because if that is your passion, you can make a career out of it. You know, the things that I've done in my career, I've always made sure that the things I'm passionate about are built in. So my whole career with the NHS, which was 20 years as a health promotion specialist, I taught aerobics. I still taught aerobics. I would still, at the beginning, I was still a county girls youth worker. So I used to run training sessions for youth workers working with young women. You know, I've always loved to play netball. So I played netball always until I came to Jamaica, actually. I play netball. I'm ready to start that seniors netball league up now. But, you know, it's like whatever it is you want to do, if you're passionate about it and you're determined, you can make it happen. And I think for youngsters now, you just have to believe that life doesn't have to be hard. It doesn't have to be grueling. If money is your main thing, it's going to be tough. But you can have a really good life following your passion, doing what you want, and things just flow. Things happen in the right way when you're doing what you're meant to be doing.
Amazing. Thank you so much, Jermaine. I think that's like a very solemn point to end on, that what each of us, or what young people especially, should be doing at this stage is to try to discover what it is that you like, what it is that you love, what is that thing that's always on your mind that you're passionate about, that you would even do for free, and then try to channel that into a career path. I think based on what we've heard from Jermaine and all the other speakers this afternoon has been just that, where persons, majority of who were on the call, all spoke to them finding their passion, and all spoke to them doing this thing that they loved and then reaping the financial rewards after. I didn't share my career journey, but that has also been my story, focusing on the thing that I've loved. And it has provided opportunities for me to earn, opportunities for me to travel, opportunities for me to be here with you, to meet people like Matthew from J-TEC, you know, to partner with organizations and to meet people like Jermaine and several of the other persons who are on this panel. So thank you so much, Jermaine, for sharing your journey with us. Please don't go before Matthew comes on to give us that last giveaway. I just want to encourage you. I just want to thank you firstly for joining us today for this first online career fair. I really hope that it was worth your while and that you would have learned something about each and every career field that was shared here today. You'd have learned about how you can get into this particular field if it is that you're interested in it. And even if your field was not showcased today, that the stories of the persons who shared would have inspired you to just continue on your journey to discover your purpose, to discover your passion, and just do what it is that you're passionate about, what it is that you love. And of course, try to figure out a way to earn from it so that you can live. And the theme here today is that nobody is struggling, right? Most persons, or at least at this point in their career, right? They aren't struggling. They focused on what they were passionate about, and eventually it paid off, right? You can, if you want to continue to get information about what we do, both at Link Your Purpose and J-TEC, you can follow both organizations on Instagram. We're Link Your Purpose on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. We also have our website, www.linkyourpurpose.com. If you are a professional in your field and you want to become a mentor to young people who are not sure of the career pathway that they want to choose, then I encourage you to sign up to become a mentor on our platform, where you can also advise persons and share with them your career journey and how you got there. And if you're looking for a mentor or looking to get help to identify the career that you want to pursue, then visit the platform and take our online career quiz. And it will give you some guidance to the careers, especially the non-traditional ones that you can pursue. Okay, Matthew?
Okay, thank you. So we've gone through a lot of content. We've had some really exceptional persons share their own career path and journeys with us, and thank you for staying connected with us throughout this online career fair, OCF 2020, and we really appreciate the questions, the feedback, and if you weren't recognized before, we thank you for. We're grateful for everybody joining us across the world, whether you're in Canada, whether you're in Wales, whether you're in a similar small island like Jamaica, wherever you are in the world. We thank you for staying tuned with us. Now, Lanicia, I came up with this question on the fly, and I hope that you can co-sign this question. Now, this is our final giveaway, and this is a reward for those of you who stayed connected and continue to share with us through this program. Now, this is a time-bound activity, okay? And Lanicia, I'm gonna need your help on this one. Okay. All right, so I'm gonna ask a question, and it's going to have to happen based on who replies first and the correct answer. So the answer has to be correct, and it's who replies first with the correct answer, okay? In the chat. Okay, good, in the chat, yes. So we'll accommodate your responses in the live chat. So live chat on YouTube, live chat on Zoom. And of course, it goes without saying that our panelists, are exempt from this. Ooh, all right, let's do this.
So Matthew, just one thing. So, or I guess we'll have to look at the timestamp for YouTube, or maybe our co-host Paris can also be monitoring one of the platforms.
Good, great. So, as a matter of fact, let's ensure that we have it brought up to live status. So I'm seeing it as well. So here's the question. And it's twofold. Now, we had several panelists participate in this online career fair, OCF 2020, hashtag OCF 2020. And we want to know who can state the names and titles of 7 of our participants. 7 of our participants. So I need the correct name and the correct titles of the panelists, okay? And whoever replies first correctly is gonna win. So both on YouTube or Twitter. So what did they say in Game of Thrones, Alicia? Okay, what did they say in Hunger Games? There's a slogan in Hunger Games, But either way, let the force do it with this one. That's all I can say. So we have some comments coming in. All right, let's see. So let me repeat the challenge. Please name 7 of our presenters and their titles.
And this is for a $50 Amazon gift card. And this is sponsored by Virtual Mall Global. Okay? And guess what? There's an addition to that. You actually get free shipping of up to £2 for your purchase.
Awesome. So what's the name of that company again? Let me see. Let everybody hear that.
Virtual Mall Global.
Virtual Mall Global. Yeah. We thank you for donating this. So let's get that gift card, guys. It's a $50 gift card. There are a lot of things you can get for $50, especially now during COVID. A lot of sales and discounts going on. The first correct response on YouTube live or Zoom broadcast.
We need the Jeopardy song.
Okay, I'm seeing.
In questions.
Mm-hmm. All right. So what we'll do is once the winner is selected, then we will email them the information, and they can enjoy this great, prize, this great token from Virtual Mall Global. All right. What?
6, 7. Yeah, I think we have
Do we have a winner?
I think
we have a winner.
No.
All right. Can you verify?
Yes, so we have Jody and Snape. I'm just going to go through. This is from Zoe Duncan. We have Jody and Snape, paralegal. Ricardo Thompson, Director of Innovation. Chantal Jackson, actress. Lauren Peart, Blue Dot. Jermaine Allison, Health and Wellness. Tyrone, Create. Erica Simmons, Global Strategist. Denisha Fraser, Master Teacher. So just for clarification, Matthew, you said title or company because you have to differentiate. So what are we going to go with? Is it going to be because I think this is a mixture of title and company for Zoe. So are we going to give it to Zoe? We have another person.
Who else do we have there?
Right, I'm seeing Sandian. She has Dr. Shea Bowen, founder of MB Link, Tyrone Wilson, president of iCreate, Tracy Ann Meeksel, diversity coordinator, Erica Simmons, director of AWC, that's the company. Denisha Fraser, master teacher, Olivia Rose, sports psychologist, Dr. Nelline Piper. So she didn't put a title. How many do we have? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So it's still incomplete because she didn't put the title for Dr. Piper.
All right, but is she closer than Zoe though?
So Zoe has 7, but she has mixed company with titles. So I don't know if we're gonna give it. I see one more entry on Zoom. Should we look at that one last entry and then decide?
All right, we'll take one more entry on Zoom and then we'll have to decide. Somebody commented that they have it.
Okay. All right. So we'll take Joel. Joel is the next person. Ricardo Thompson, Director of Innovation and Business Development, J-TEC. Chantal Jackson, actress. Lauren Peart, CEO, Blue Dot. Denisha Fraser, master teacher and entrepreneur. Olivia Rose Esperance, PhD, applied sports psychologist. Dr. Shea Bowen, founder and CEO, MD Link, and Jermaine Allison, health and wellness strategist. I think this is very precise.
Somebody have their own printout of the program.
Yes, I think Joel. Joel did his printout of the program.
Oh no, Zoe, and we say that we know that you were first, Zoe, but you weren't completely correct. I'm so sorry, but Zoe, we're gonna have a consolation token for you, just some credit courtesy of Digital for you. And yes, we're gonna give Zoe a token. Zoe, we thank you for being first, but you weren't completely accurate.
Yes. Yes.
All right, so we're gonna send that out to you. So Zoe, stand by. As a matter of fact, just send your email to us in the chat just now, and we'll send that to you. You said the winner was Joel.
Yes, so Joel Richards. So
okay.
Joel Richards, yes, he's in the chat.
Congratulations, Joel Richards. Congratulations. Happy shopping. If you feel like you want to put something in a cart for myself and Lanicia, we're open to it. We don't have expensive taste, so if you want to dedicate $10 out of it for each of us, we're happy. We welcome that. All right?
Great. So please send us your email address. You can type it in the chat and your contact number so that we can contact you both to give you your gift.
All right. Thank you very much for joining in, everyone. We really appreciate you taking the time out, and we hope that this event was beneficial to you and share the information that you got. And hopefully you'll be able to use this opportunity to make some contacts because contacts are key. Right, Lanicia?
It is key. And I just want to say thank you, Matthew, to the team that planned this event. It was a team of us who got together to plan this event. And we have our co-hosts online, Paris Michelle and Nikisha Lowe. Thank you so much for assisting us today. And I'm sure this will not be the last.
All right, take care, everybody. Stay safe, and thank you for joining.
Bye, everyone.